Welcome back. We had technical issues connecting with our first guest. We moved to the second topic for the day, and we are very grateful to our guest who is literally on as we speak. The Speaker of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Olamide Oladiji, has revealed that as part of efforts at ending the political crisis in the state, President Bola Tinubu had asked the Deputy Governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, to tender an undated resignation letter. And despite moves by President Tinubu and the leadership of All Progressives Congress APC to resolve the political crisis currently rocking governance in that state, the issues seem to be piling up by the day as the State Assembly has demanded the resignation letter of Aiyedatiwa as proposed by the President. Joining us live is Kennedy Peretai, PDP Publicity Secretary, Ondo State. Honorable Peretai, good to have you guesting on Plus Politics.
Thank you so much. Good evening. But the name is pronounced Perete.
Thank you very much. I was just about saying I hope I've not murdered the name. I really wouldn't like to be accused of murder,
okay.
You know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. What is happening in your state? Just when we thought we had made some steps in the direction of progress, the crisis seems to be recalibrating and moving in the direction of discombobulation. What is happening?
Well, you will recall that immediately they returned from Abuja, I issued a statement to say that what President Tinubu has done amounts to window dressing, that the issues have not been addressed, and that as long as the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, remains in hiding, as it were, it means there is not going to be respite, and the siege was still on. But 2 days after, we saw the first fireworks. You know, the State Assembly was said to have been, they are said to have received a list of nominees for to be council chairman and vice chairman. And we were told reliably that the deputy governor was not to know of it. But before we knew it, we went to court. The court did not give us a date, but we actually issued a statement saying that what they did was an illegality, because as far as the Constitution of Nigeria is concerned, local governments are supposed to be administered by democratically elected officials. That is Section 7 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. But they have not done that. Yesterday, the High Court in Ondo State gave us an order restraining them from swearing the illegal chairman. But we're told that by around 8 p.m., they hurriedly went to the Cocoa Conference Hall and swore them in. So we have not seen the last of this crisis. It has just started as far as I'm concerned.
As the official opposition party, we know this is the presidential system of government and we don't quite have something akin to official opposition party as you have in the parliamentary system of government. But the PDP would ordinarily be referred to as the leading opposition party in the state. What are the options that the PDP has at this juncture beyond noise making? You must have some constitutional remedies. You have members in the State House of Assembly, don't you?
Yeah, we have 4 members. You know, what we are having in Ondo State is quite embarrassing. And statesmen, elder statesmen like Chief Ruben Fashoranti have intervened. They have written to Mr. President. We have also provided options. What can be done? First, if Rotimi Akeredolu cannot resume, as is the case now, we have also proposed that he should honorably resign, because as it is now, Ondo State is drifting. Nobody is in charge of the affairs of Ondo State. There is no governor, there is no deputy governor. The third in rank, which is the Speaker of Assembly, has been embroiled in a crisis with the deputy governor in the state. So, but the House of Assembly is operating, not as on the basis of parties. Once they enter plenary, or once they enter the one that they call executive session, according to them, they operate together. So it is not the matter of whether this person is PDP or this person is.
I would suppose that statement that once they enter executive session, they operate together is an indictment of your party. That your members in the House of Assembly are lacking ideological commitment. They have no respect for the Nigerian Constitution, and they go in cahoot with the majority party that is seemingly slapping the Constitution black and blue.
No, I've not said that. If you remember the processes that were involved, at a particular time, 11 members of the 26 members of Assembly were opposed to the impeachment. The 4 members, the PDP members in that assembly, are part of the 11. So we cannot say that they are working together with the APC majority. I've not said that. What I said was that at a time when some lists were making the rounds about signatures, one of the members from the PDP, that's the minority leader of the House, said that the list that was seen in public domain with the signature was the list they signed for attendance in one of their meetings. It was not for impeachment. But as it were, it was difficult for him to come to the public and make that known, so that it will not be a case of the majority suspending the minority, which happens all the time. We saw it in Edo State, where the governor made sure that some members of the assembly were suspended, and for a period of almost 3.5 years. You also need some tact, so that you don't get expelled, you don't get removed from parliament, and you'll be helpless, even though they don't have such powers. So that is exactly what I mean, that when they enter into executive session, they operate as a body, not as this one is PDP or this one is APC, not because they are collaborating with the so-called majority.
However, the Constitution also has a provision that empowers the lower house of the National Assembly in a crisis situation like this, especially where you have an aberrant House of Assembly, to take over the powers of the State House of Assembly. And I would suppose at this juncture, the members of the PDP, both from Ondo State and at large in the National Assembly, especially the House of Representatives, ought to be articulating the implementation of that provision now. Don't you think so?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the issues are still being pursued, because there is a provision, a constitutional provision, which says that if the governor is unable to perform the duties of his office or the president beyond a particular point, maybe beyond 21 days, I think section 190, subsection 2, it says that the deputy governor is supposed to be empowered through the doctrine of necessity to act in the position of the governor, which is what we have asked the Ondo State House Assembly to do, and they have not done. But in this case, what is clear to the public is that the Speaker of the Ondo State House Assembly is a master of impunity. Is somebody who has made up his mind that he will stand against the will of the people, the wishes of the people, and continue to take instructions from wherever source is taking this instruction from. For example, how on earth can a speaker say that he was constituting caretaker committees when the Constitution clearly states that elections and democratically elected officials are supposed to run the affairs of the local government? So is it not the case of the lawmaker breaking the law? So Oladipo has clearly shown himself as incompetent and against the wishes of the people. So we are still in court in several of these cases.
I hope, Kennedy, I hope you know the difference between what is called politicking and realpolitik. Kennedy, any reasonable Nigerian will agree with you that mountains of illegalities are literally being, are metaphorically being built in Ondo State. But the problem that an average, reasonable, well-educated, well-enlightened Nigerian would have is that beyond the histrionics of talk, and talk is cheap, what is a party like PDP doing? Are you taking recourse to the law? Because as we speak, the Speaker of the House of Assembly and the controlling party in the House of Assembly are no bigger than the rule of law. And the only machinery that you have to articulate the effectiveness of the rule of law, we don't seem to see you guys articulating it. So is it just going to be you'll be speaking grammar, and the illegality will be going on?
Let me explain to you, please. Now, you said whether there is a difference between politics and realpolitik. I don't know about that. But what I can tell you is that when this matter started, apart from beyond issuing statements, beyond issuing press statements, we staged a protest in which I'm sure you are aware that armored personnel carrier was moved to our office to seal it up by the Commissioner of Police for days. And yesterday, we have a court injunction restraining the government of Ondo State, anybody for that matter, from swearing in local government administrators or local government chairmen. Last night, at about 8 o'clock, 9 p.m. in the night, they went and swore in these people against a court order that is before them that they were served with this injunction. So when you are talking about people that are flagrantly, stamping on the Constitution of Nigeria and stamping on the interests of the people, what else can we do? We are in court, even in this case of the assembly, and the swearing in of this illegal local government chairman. Then, as per enforcing the law to making Ondo State benefit from governance, because since the heart of the ship of the state is breaking apart, nobody is in charge of anything. So we are trying to go to court, but the courts don't. We are not the judges. It is what they give us. Even this matter that was decided yesterday, we filed on the 13th of November. We didn't get a date until yesterday. So it is what we can do is just within the law. The policemen came and said about that we cannot even proceed on a legitimate protest. And our rights as Nigerians is enshrined, is constitutionally guaranteed that we can demonstrate, we can move freely. But they stopped us. We went to court, but they said since they have released our office, we are free to go. So these are the things we are talking. State protests, go to court, approach the court. I hear that one now. I say, come and be an acting governor. Or go to Aketi, wherever he is, and bring him to Ondo State. As we speak, we don't even know where he is. The people that are managing him have not told us where Aketi is. And for more than 6 months, nobody has seen this man in public space. What are we talking about?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we saw pictures of Southwest APC governors in a camaraderie session with him, reportedly in his house in Ibadan. But that does not, what is happening in Ondo State is saddening. For a man who, for the better part of his adult life, had epitomized, and I'm choosing my words carefully, had epitomized the rule of law, the integrity of the law, to be the chief dramatis persona. Now that all these illegalities are built around, it's saddening. But you know what? Politics sometimes, the way you partisans play it, and none of you can be said to be innocent. I'm sitting here now feeling frustrated as a Nigerian, feeling abused, and yet, you know, I can't blame you. You've tried the way of the courts. The speaker reportedly, allegedly, from what you said now, deliberately disrespected the order of the court yesterday. So you've told us, allegedly. I'm not affirming it. But what else can be done? This madness has to be tackled.
What the Speaker of the House of Assembly and those working in cahoots with him are asking for is anarchy. Because in a state where laws are not obeyed, laws are put in place for the order of society, for the good of well-being of the state. So in a situation whereby somebody flagrantly abuses the law, is tramples on the law, and says, what can you do? It means we're asking for anarchy. If a man slaps you, maybe you go to court. Say, look, somebody has slapped you.
I wouldn't want to encourage you, Kennedy, especially for somebody who holds a very lofty office of, very lofty office in a major political party, to speak as though you are encouraging violence.
Well, I'm saying, even if the President Jeff Kennedy says so, those who make peaceful change impossible, make a violent change inevitable. That's what I'm saying. That it's an invitation to.
I'm basically counseling, especially yourself, that you must be very, very determined not to be seen to be encouraging violence. Number one,
I've not said so. I'm only stating the obvious. I'm not condemning you, but I have a duty too to make sure that you are made to realize that some of your emotive pronouncements can be misconstrued by those who are ill-educated, who are not as exposed as you are, and that is why it is incumbent on me to make sure that I let you realize that you have a duty, especially to a system that you are profiting from, to be very circumspect in your use of language. No, what do you mean by profiting from? Is this situation profiting from in what sense? I'm a Nigerian. I'm not in government.
No, you are the spokesperson of one of the two major parties in Nigeria. Yes, in a state of anarchy, there wouldn't be room for you to even sit.
I think it's better that you get me clearly. It's better you get me clearly. What I said, those who make peaceful change impossible.
I'm familiar with the dictum. I'm familiar with the dictum.
I've not said.
I'm familiar with the dictum, Kennedy, and I know how. I'm equally very, very angry. I must be very honest with you, and it's so much painful because on a previous occasion that Aketi stood for the integrity of the Constitution and our laws, he actually counseled somebody who was in the same situation that he is in now to resign. If Aketi resigns today, it will not be in penury. It will not be hungry. It will not lack anything that will still protect his life and give him the dignity of an upper class life in Nigeria. So why are people now determined to push him in the direction of stigmatizing his legacy? Because at this juncture, Aketi's legacy as a human being is practically being stigmatized. I think it's about time members of his family, close members of his family, and people, the hangers on who think they are profiting from this, they are rubbishing his legacy. My opinion, it doesn't make it this thing, but this is saddening, very saddening.
It's unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate that Ondo State is in this state of affairs. because Ondo State is, populated by very cerebral and people who are well-to-do in every walk of life. But where we have found ourselves is quite unfortunate, and we are using the opportunity to plead with those that are holding Ondo State by the jugular that they should release Ondo State so that we can have peace in Ondo State, we can have governance in Ondo State the way it ought to be. Anybody can be ill. Nobody is challenging the fact that Akedi, why should it be ill? No, why not? Anybody can be ill. But the Constitution provides for a situation like this. So once it happens, there is a constitutional safeguard which must lash onto for the state to move forward, which is what some people are holding back, including the Speaker of the House Assembly. For example, how can anybody tell a man that was duly elected to bring a letter of resignation that is not dated? Where on earth is it hide? Where has that kind of thing ever happened before? It's ridiculous, and it's actually making Ondo State look like, people don't even know what they are doing. And just a few people are doing all of this. And we are using the opportunity to plead with them that it will be in their own very best interest, because there's posterity in everything we do. There's history. I'm going to record for everybody which role individuals played in this drama. And we are just doing our own part as much as we are able to do, using the law as our guide.
This issue of Aiyedatiwa having been made by the president to sign an undated letter of resignation, one does not know how far that is true, but I just pray it's not true. And the reason why I pray it's not true is that His Excellency the President may be walking a very, very thin line of decency on that subject for a man who, for a time in his life, stood against the Gorgon Medusa of autocracy, fought for democracy, had to go to exile for democracy, being privy. I just pray it's not true. And you see, I don't suppose people like you two or people
the Speaker said so. Speaker of the Ondo State Assembly said so in plenary. It is in black and white. He said so. It's on tape. I'm not the person saying it.
I understand your point, Kennedy. But at this juncture, I am not one that respects that speaker so much anymore, because he could say anything. A character like that could say anything to either want to bamboozle those who are not, who are not standing with him, or wanting to machinate, his own selfish ambition. Because all this, to any political tea leaf reader, all this is about the ambitions, the vaulting ambitions of these characters. Or am I wrong?
Because, very correct, sir. What I said in some of the statements I issued earlier was that I expected Mr. President, who's also a veteran in this business of politics, to know that what is at stake is the 2024 elections coming up in Ondo State. Who will succeed Aketi in the APC? So it is a fireworks that is connected with who becomes the successor to Aketi to pick the APC ticket. Now, whatever it was, Aiyedatiwa is deputy governor, and he has a constitutional duty or responsibility to take over from Aketi if Aketi is incapacitated in this manner. But those who are also eyeing the governorship seat know that if Aiyedatiwa becomes acting governor, they will be at a disadvantage in the contest for the APC ticket. This is the underlying factor. This is what is behind all the fireworks I've seen.
I hope some of those who advise the president will remember that they literally, including the president, literally took to the streets when it was necessary to help articulate to help articulate the emergence of the then Vice President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to have the Constitution work as it ought to work for him. And now, Kennedy, how do you want to end this? We really have to go now.
Yeah, let me say that the problems that we have in Ondo State are being inflamed by the president himself, because if some people are becoming difficult to deal with, are refusing court orders, he has that wit, he has that tact, he has that strength. He's the leader of party in the APC, he's the president of the country, so he should have been able to streamline this operation, especially because after the Yaradua Jonathan incident, the National Assembly inserted this section into the Constitution, that if a situation like this happens, that the doctrine of necessity be invoked, as in section 190, subsection 2. So there would have been no ambiguity as to what. Imagine a president calling a meeting of that nature, and Aketi is not able to attend. That in itself is a statement. It means that if it were not something serious that was holding him down.
Okay, Kennedy, I feel you, as they say on the streets. I really pray that we always throw Christianese and Pentecostalism into it in Nigeria, but it's about time this unedifying situation in Ondo State ended. About time it ended. Thank you very much, Kennedy.
Thank you.
Thank you for gracing the show.
Thank you so much.
Today's throwback. Jos, a city that defines Nok antiquity, modern mining, and cosmopolitanism. In the depths of a giant nation that Nigeria is, among the rolling hills and lush landscapes lies the city of Jos, a place whose history is as rich as the deposits of cassiterite, that is, the mineral from which tin, which at the dawn of the 1900s drew the exploitative attention of the British colonialists, who lured in laborers from all the major tribes of Nigeria, is derived. As the sun rises over the picturesque plateau, it illuminates a land that has been shaped by the footprints of ancient civilizations and the imprint of colonial rule, fostering a unique natural tapestry that weaves together the stories of the Nok people and the legacy of British influence. Long before the arrival of the colonialists, the land that would come to be known as Nigeria was home to the enigmatic Nok people, skilled artisans whose exquisite terracotta sculptures still captivate the imagination of modern-day archaeologists. The Nok people, thought to have thrived around 1000 before Christ, in the vicinity of today's city of Jos and the sprawling Nok Valley, which reaches far out to parts of Kaduna, indeed Kwara, left behind a trail of mastery and mystery. With their sudden disappearance in the late first millennium shrouded in the mist of time, the echoes of the Nok people lingered in the fertile soil of Jos as indigenous ethnic groups, predominantly farmers, cultivated the land and forged their own traditions and ways of life. As the wheels of history turned, the British colonialists cast their gaze upon the beautiful land, enticed by the discovery of vast deposits of cassiterite, the primary ore for the production of tin. The allure of mineral wealth led to the establishment of Jos as an important center for tin mining, forever altering the course of its history. The British, under the governance of direct rule, remember that the Fulani never conquered the aboriginals of the Benue Plateau territory, made their presence felt in Jos Plateau, a marked divergence from the indirect rule they employed in the Fulani Emirates. As the colonialists set foot on the soil of Jos, a coalition of cultures unfolded, with the indigenous ethnic groups navigating the complexities of a changing world while preserving the essence of their heritage. The rhythms of everyday life intertwined with the cadence of colonial influence, shaping the trajectory of the metropolis which Jos became and its people. Amidst the backdrop of tin mines and trading hubs, Jos emerged as a testament to resilience, inclusivity, and adaptation, a melting pot of tradition and transformation. The spirit of the Nok people found new expression in the midst of modernity, their legacy interwoven with the narrative of progress and perseverance. Against the enrapturing backdrop of rolling hills, the city stood as a testament to the enduring spirit of its inhabitants, who wove the fabric of their lives with threads of history and hope. In the heart of Jos, the history of resistance of tribal domination and millennia of anthropological artisanal mastery converge, creating a tapestry that captures the essence of a city shaped by the forces of change and the echoes of the past. I am Bola Oba.
My name is Yemi Sholade. I am an actor, and proudly so. Here is my good old days story. I recall as a toddler growing up in Surulere in Lagos, ours was a life of communal living. Every family knew one another, and the children played together in the neighborhood. We played football, we rode bicycles, we flew the kite, we even climbed mango trees, guava trees, and went after the masquerades. Calabar masquerades, the one we called Ojuju Calabar in those days. Interestingly, in those days, electricity was 24 hours constant. Public water works was efficient. Free-flowing water drawn from these taps were filled in bottles in our refrigerators. No one talked about typhoid and other waterborne diseases. So good old days. Days when houses had no fences. We would sit across those low fences at sunset and gist all days till night. When everyone knew one another in the neighborhood, we wouldn't forget street football and would forget we would leave our homes, go to a neighbor's place, eat, and even pass the night. In those days of Levante's department stores, especially in Surulere, we had our own fair share of pranks and youthful exuberance. Was it the days I chased a lady thinking she was biracial, those you call half-caste, just for me to discover she was an albino? I retraced my steps and lady felt so bad. But now I know better. Or was it days when I was fascinated with the white naval uniform and I told my uncle I would like to join the Navy? On the day of the examination, I got there late and I saw how those who came late like me were being treated. They were flogged with koboko, koboko. Twisted, it was even twisted wire that they had whip. That was it. I took off big time and told my uncle I wrote the exam. It wasn't funny though, but the rest, as we say today, is history. Despite the fun and the dissident nature, we were still focused with a strong resolve to make the difference in the society. Getting rich quick was certainly not one of our aspirations in those good old days. Relevance and impact drove our passion. I recall my young days as an actor, training in the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, I was given a role to play in a stage play titled An Inspector Calls, adaptation by Professor Ame Yerima. We had to run this play for 3 nights. Interestingly, on the final night, something spectacular happened in a scene where I had to stand very close to the audience at the edge of the stage. I discovered there was this delirious moment members of the audience were laughing their heads off, and I was wondering why, because that scene ignited nothing of such. Lo and behold, what did I find out when I left that spot to sit? I discovered that the zipper of my trousers was open, and obviously that gentleman was peeping out on the audience. It was one of the most embarrassing moments in my career as an actor. But do you know what? Such moments fired in us the determination to go on and not look back. Those were those days too where there were no room for half-baked actors. The real ones were always found on stage. What do we have today? It is almost becoming an all-commerce game. Fast forward, things are no longer the same. I really don't know how and where we got it all wrong. In our social life, political life, and even in our economic aspirations. We describe the olden days in glowing terms like paradise, and we fear for the future of our children. Today, we live in self-created prisons, building walls around us for fear of intruders. These days, you hardly know your neighbors. These days, the walls are even higher than that of maximum prisons. All the doors, the windows are protected by burglary proofs. We now generate our own electricity, generate our own water, and even repair roads in the neighborhood. I attended public schools, but what do we have now? Our children these days don't even know anything about public schools. The health system is collapsing. In our days, we were treated at public health centers. The facilities were there. But today, you are your own doctor, your caregiver, and even your pharmacist. However, all hope is not lost. We can change the narrative. We can reverse the trend if there is a will. I work in Nigeria. I earn a living from Nigeria. I am not giving up on Nigeria. I know that a reflection of the good old days without a projection for a better future can only spell doom for a nation. We can make it work. I trust in our collective ability to employ the experience of our past to make a glorious future. Let us attempt to make the difference now for the sake of our children's tomorrow. I therefore join Sir Shemo Rebadejo in this collective drive towards a greater tomorrow. Let's go there. Thank you.
I left Nigeria back as far as 2012, and it was a very funny story. As you can see from my social media pages, my best food is amala. So I worked after work. I'm a medical doctor, full-time doctor. After work, I went to this famous place in Oshogbo where they have amala just next to my hospital. So while I was there, I sat down with the food, and then I saw this newspaper advert saying doctors needed urgently in Saudi Arabia. So I abandoned my plate of amala. The rewards were just amazing, and I couldn't believe my eyes. You know, free accommodation, free flights. I was earning, you know, I was going to earn like times 20, you know, of what I earned at the time, in dollars as well. So I packed my bags, went home, packed my bags off to Lagos. I was at the Keja for the interview.
Like immediately?
Immediately, I left the Amala, went home, packed my bags, and off. I went to Lagos. The next day, I went for the interview, did the interview. There were loads and loads of people there. Did the interview and got picked, and I was on my way to Saudi Arabia. So from Nigeria, I worked in Saudi Arabia for 2 years, and then I walked around the Middle East, Dubai, Oman, Bahrain. And from there, while I was working, I was writing my exams to work in the UK and the Republic of Ireland. So from there, I got a lecturing position in the UK, and then I was able to pass my exams within that time. So I got my licenses to be able to practice in Europe. So at the moment, I can practice in Europe, I can practice in New Zealand, I can practice in the Middle East, and of course in Nigeria as well. So my journey hasn't been straightforward. My journey has been from Nigeria, scattered around the Middle East and then Europe. The first culture shock I faced was I landed on a Thursday and obviously Friday, but it didn't click that Friday was a day to be respected in the Middle East, in the Muslim society. So I got up, was looking for food. I got out of my house, and after walking for like 5 minutes, it still didn't click that I was the only one in the environment, okay? So after walking about, say, 500 meters, I suddenly saw a car just drove in front of me and blocked me, and then I saw all these guys in beards just came, and of course I didn't. So the guy just came and said, "What are you doing out here? It's Friday. You're supposed to be praying." I'm like, I paused, and then he says, "Okay, are you a Muslim or a Christian?" "Yeah, are you a Muslim or a Christian?" I swear I didn't know whether to say Muslim or Christian because I didn't know what was going to happen. If you say Christian and they start flogging you, if you say Muslim, why are you not in the mosque? So I paused, and the guy said, "Bring out your Ikama." I showed him my Ikama, which is like a resident permit. That shows your religion, so it shows it shows I'm a Christian. And then he said, "Where are you coming from?" I said, "I just got into Saudi yesterday. I don't know what's going on." Then he said, "Well, today's Friday, Jumat. You have to be praying. If you're not praying, you respect it. Stay in your house between this period." So I said, "Okay." He said, "Everywhere is closed. You can't even get food." So I said, "I'm sorry. I will walk back right now." And then another one that was amazing, even though I was a doctor, I couldn't speak to female patients. So if a man comes in with a woman and the woman is the one with the problem, you cannot talk face to face to her. You cannot ask her. You have to ask the husband, say, "Okay, why have you brought this woman here?" And then the husband would. So my first experience, I spoke to this woman who had a breast lump, and I was talking. The husband was just looking at me. So when I finished, he was answering me. And when I finished, the guy just lost it. "How can you be talking to my wife?" I was like, I'm not toasting your wife, guy. You know, calm down. So the medical director had to give me an education, you know, yeah. So we were able to just placate the guy at that time. So that was one culture shock for me as well. I've traveled a lot of countries. I've seen 50 different countries now. I would say that in Europe, okay, so some very interesting ones. When I got to Europe, I was in my house just sitting on my own, and friends said, "Come on, there's this birthday party happening. Let's go and eat." Birthday party? Oh yeah, let's go now. Where's the venue? So I went to the venue. We ate, we ordered, ate everything, finished. Birthday party. At the end of the day, the celebrant came and said, "This is the bill." And in my head, I'm thinking, bill for what? I should pay that you invite. I was in my house. I was in my house. You invited me. I came to eat. Now I have to pay the bill. So that was one. The second one was, of course, driving. In Nigeria, you're on the left side, but in the UK, you're on the right side. So that was another culture shock for me in Europe. Okay. It's important to state that I always talk about the way to live legally within the legal bounds without violating any international laws, which is opposed to what people do, most people do. And if you notice very well, people live, you know, it's upward movement. You're living from poorer countries to rich countries. And interestingly, it's not as if the people who leave their countries illegally, generally speaking now, are not the poorest of the poorest when you put the standard of their country into context. They're not the poorest of the poorest. But because they're looking for better opportunities, they're looking for a place where they will get, you know, larger finances, a better standard of living, education, good access to health. That's why they're leaving. So they don't care how they do it. So long as the promises, you know, they've been given good promises, then they just take that pathway. I always use my social media handles on Instagram, on YouTube, Waka Waka Doctor, to tell people of the legal ways. And the reason why people most times don't want to follow this pathway is because I would say it's inherent laziness, because you have to do the work. You know, this illegal pathway, they're possibly going to say, pay this amount of money, we will just move you across the border. But they don't consider the consequences that come with it. This way that I preach involves a lot of, you know, work. You have to do a lot of work. So it means that you have to do research, you have to make applications, you have to pay little amount of fees, and then get the end result. So if you're not open to working, I give tips, I point you towards the right direction, but if you're not open to working, then it becomes a difficult task for you. So the easiest way is to keep educating ourselves. We keep educating these people and passing the information across. And I mean, this is one thing I'm doing now, and it's one thing I've been doing for the last 18 months, using Instagram, Twitter, YouTube to pass the information across. If someone comes to you to say, okay, I'm going to take you to Europe, you're a cake baker, I'm going to get you scholarship, there are documents you want to see. There are documents you want to see. You have your original passport. Have you submitted a statement of motivation or a letter of intent? Do you have a visa? Have you submitted documents to help you get an original visa? Do you have a work permit? Have you seen an original work permit? Have you called your employers over there to confirm that I have a real job and I'm coming to resume? So that again brings me to my first point, that people are mentally lazy. They don't want to do the work. Because when someone gives you documents and say, oh, this is your document, we're going abroad, you should say, give it to me. Let me confirm if it's real. Let me confirm if it's original. If it's a work permit, I'm going to call my employers to see if this job is real. If it's a school admission, I'm going to ring up the school to find out if it's real. I told you behind the cameras, I said, people have this mentality that, you know, things work outside just the way it works in this country. It's wrong. If you pick up the phone and call an admissions office, they will talk to you. If you pick up the phone and call an employer, they will talk to you. You're just looking for information. And if the information is real, they definitely get it. So, like I said, the first way to help with spread of information, help curb this is spread of information, educating people. And that's what I've been doing for the last 18 months using my social media platforms. Nothing good comes extremely easy, okay? You have to be patient. I tweet sometimes, I say that, I say, when you travel abroad, your life changes. You know, your skin becomes fresh, your smile is different, okay? There's peace of mind, you know, things come to you easily. You can actually actualize your dreams. You can live out your dreams right in front of you because there's a system that supports that. So my advice is, when you go abroad, be patient, keep working hard, don't stop, don't relax, you know, have a vision, write it down, allow your eyes see that vision, you know, consume it, and continue to work towards it. It's simply as basic as that. That would be my advice. Save, and always call home, because one of the downsides to going abroad is that it can be boring sometimes. And that's why you should call friends. Don't cut people off. Call friends. You know, always call home if you miss home. Like, I'm home now because I missed Amala. I missed all those things, so I came home. So yeah, that's my advice. Keep working. Keep your head down. Of course, keep your connections back home so that you can always come back to them. This is a huge subject. It's a huge subject, and it's not something I can share in 1-2 minutes. So I'm going to say that the first thing you want to do is open an Instagram account if you don't have an Instagram account, and look for me, Waka Waka Doctor, because I give tips. Now, there are job boards across Europe, across Asia. You cannot streamline your choices and say that, oh, I just want to be in Canada. I just want to go to the US. I just want to go to the UK. There are 195 different countries in the world. So you have to say that I'm open to any one of them. And most of these countries have job boards, okay? Websites, different websites where you can submit your applications. You go through rigorous interviews. You submit documents. If you then succeed, they are able to process your work permits and employ you. Now, some people will say, oh, I've tried the UK, it didn't work out, so they give up. But there are different countries in the world. There's Turkey, there's Lithuania, there's Kazakhstan. I know teachers that I've spoken to, in fact, 6, 7 of them in the last 4, 5 months who have left Nigeria to Kazakhstan, right? They teach English. They earn at least $1,800 in Kazakhstan, which is much more than what they will earn in Nigeria. So there are 195 countries. I post them, I mean, almost every day on my Instagram channel. So you can watch and see some of these job boards and apply for jobs. Some basic truths and facts is not every doctor can leave the country. So even if doctors are leaving, more doctors would graduate and you still have doctors around. But doctors are leaving in their large numbers every day. So the future of medicine in Nigeria is very bleak, because you have the extremely intelligent doctors leaving, going abroad, because the system abroad is extremely encouraging. The system abroad gives you opportunities to become greater than what you can ever think or imagine. People keep writing their exams, people keep going for interviews because the system allows it. So the advice straight up I'll give to the Nigerian government is, first and foremost, create a platform that encourages us as doctors. Facilities, give us things we can. It's not as if, things we only see in the books, things we can see and work with. Pay us money. I worked in Osun State. My salary in 2011 was 90,000 naira. I was doing 2 jobs and I couldn't earn 120,000 naira, 2 jobs. When I went to Saudi Arabia, salary was $5,000. Look at the discrepancy, it's too huge. And they were owing us 6 months. You owe someone 6 months. I was seeing 200 patients in a day. 200 patients. How, I mean, the first 10 patients I see would get the best out of me. The other ones, the truth, it's just the truth. The other ones would be people, that's it. It doesn't work that way. Create a good culture, a good environment for doctors to work. Pay them properly. Give them, standard remuneration that they can compare with their friends and colleagues abroad and say, okay, yes, we it's commensurate to the work we do. Nigerian government really has to improve. The future of Nigerian doctors, sadly enough, is abroad, and countries are asking for them. Like the PLAB exam is an incredibly easy exam to just write and pass. So people are writing it and moving. So if Nigeria cannot improve these parts, payments, facilities, then it's a poor tale. I would end on this note to say that this is a popular theme that I've always passed across, to say that travel is not necessary of money, but of courage. And the reason is because it takes courage to decide to leave a place you've been for many years and go to a place that's brand new. You're going to be leaving your friends, you're going to be leaving your family, you're going to be leaving your job, you're going to be in search of ways to make money, search of better career. So it's often very difficult. The first step is the most difficult one, the most daunting one, saying, I want to move. It's very difficult. But I would always encourage you to take that step. When you start, you will get to the end. Don't wait, start now. It's another year, it's 2022. My aim is to get at least 2,000 people abroad. So if we can do that, we've succeeded. Okay? There are better opportunities out there. If you're attaining this level right now in Nigeria, if you go abroad, you'll be times 20. That's it. So start now, make the move. If you're in town, if you catch me in any of the cities abroad, you can holler at me and I'll be there. Traveling abroad, migrating abroad is not age specific. You know, age is not a limitation. Even if you're in your 50s, you're in late 50s, you can still go abroad. I always talk about academics because academics seems to be the easiest path. But even if it's true career, like I've said earlier, you can go search for these job boards that will give you employment. Again, experience counts. I'll give you an example. Places like Australia are in need of people with huge experiences in different fields. Whether you're a cameraman, you're a technician, you're a chef, if you have 5-10 years, electrician, 5-10 years of experience, and you apply for jobs in Australia, they'll take you. Estonia, Lithuania, these are places that are in need of vocational, you can do vocational studies. If you're not a skilled worker, so to say, these are places that are in need of you. So age is not a factor. So even if you're 50 and you have 15 years of experience to back this, they're looking for you.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Very good evening. I am Manuel Olubobokun. This is News Update. The Nigerian Army is taking responsibility for Sunday's airstrike that left many villagers killed and several others injured at Tudunbiri village in Kaduna State. This development was confirmed by Samuel Arawan, the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, at the end of an emergency security meeting on Monday. The Kaduna State government convened an emergency security meeting chaired by Deputy Governor Dr. Adiza Balarabe to discuss the incident. The incident was unintended and unfortunate as the Nigerian Army troops were on a routine mission against terrorists in the area. Search and rescue operations are still ongoing and those injured have been rushed to Barao Diko Teaching Hospital for treatment. A diesel tanker caught fire at the Ojota Inward Interchange in Lagos State, Nigeria. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority last May confirmed the incident and deploying personnel to the scene. The cause and casualty level are still unknown as the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed the incident, stating that the flames had been extinguished. The Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed the situation in Ojota as the peddler truck conveying the diesel tanker had been extinguished. Marcel Julius Berger, the contractor of the second Niger Bridge, has handed over the multi-billion-hour project to the federal government. Minister of Works Dave Mai has expressed satisfaction with the project and noted that the bridge is open to concession to any private company for ancillary road completion, toll collection, and also investment recovery. Now, MI also hinted at working on the modalities to also ease traffic at the old and new bridges during the festive period. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is facing a Supreme Court case over allegations of unlawfully assuming the presidency. The legal battle involves Chief Albert Ambrose Owuru, who claims Tinubu's declaration undermines the rule of law and should not have presented himself for inauguration while being a party in the ongoing Supreme Court suit. Now, Owuru, who contested the 2019 election on the OPA Democratic Party platform, has previously sought a court order declaring him the constitutional winner of the election. Tinubu has voluntarily joined the suit as an interested party, as Owuru and the Hope Africa Foundation are also requesting an order to restrain Tinubu from operating the Federation account pending the resolution of constitutional questions. Moving on, Justice Obiora Agwatu has directed INEC to expunge underage voter names from its national voter register and provide a certified copy of the cleaned-up register to the plaintiff within 90 days. The plaintiff, Mr. Agwin, argues that the lack of credibility in electoral processes has been a significant issue since Nigeria's return to democratic governance in 1999. INEC maintains an update at the National Voters Register under the Electoral Act, as the judge also ordered INEC to provide a clean-up register to the plaintiff within 1 month. The federal government has resumed the trial of suspected Boko Haram insurgents at the Kenji Prosecution Project Phase 4, following a successful first phase in 2017. Now, the government secured 366 convictions, but 896 suspects were discharged due to insufficient evidence. Resumption of trials follows the announcement by the government in January to proceed with the second phase initially scheduled for March. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SCN, opened the proceedings. Now, students at the University of Calabar, UNICAL, have protested against a 100% increase in undergraduate tuition fees. Now, the university announced the increase at an emergency Senate meeting, citing economic realities. Now, the fee increase for non-science courses will increase for freshers, returning students, and final year students, with additional third-party dues. The university's fees for science courses will be increased to 155,000, 125,000, and 148,000 naira for freshers, returning students, and final year students. Student education pandemic has erupted at the Yelwa campus of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, following police tear gas and students who protested against the murder of their schoolmate, Joseph Agabaidu. Now, the incident occurred after Agabaidu was stabbed to death by assailants trying to steal his mobile phone. The students protested peacefully but were stopped by security and also were forced to leave the campus. The tear gas aggravated the situation, leaving lecturers and students stranded, as academic activities were also paralyzed at both Yelwa and also Gubi campuses. Now, despite management's effort, the students refused to open the gate for movement. Now, move on to other parts of Africa. Guinea-Bissau's President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has declared the parliament dissolved following an attempt at the coup. The violence occurred between National Guard members and Presidential Guard Special Forces, resulting in 2 deaths. Now, Embalo, who was in Dubai attending the COP28 climate conference, announced the coup d'etat and also the possibility of a normal functioning of the republic's institutions. They stated that legislative elections will be held at the appropriate time in line with the constitution, as Guinea-Bissau has experienced several coups since gaining independence in 1974. Embalo was elected in December 2019 and survived a coup attempt in February 2022. And straight out South Africa, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial resumed on Monday despite the ongoing war against Hamas and the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu is accused of fraud and a breach of trust over his relationship with Hollywood producer Anan Milchan. As prosecutors claim, Netanyahu received gifts worth 700,000 shekels, which is approximately $195,000 between 2007 and 2016 in exchange for financial or personal favors. Netanyahu denies any wrongdoing and is suspected of promoting a tax project in return. And straight to business, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Aneke Lokwubiri, has said the country is on track to surpass the oil production quota set by OPEC at the 36th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting. The global oil cartel suggested Nigeria could achieve 1.5 million barrels of crude oil per day in 2024. However, trade consultancy firms IHS, Rystad Energy and Wood Mackenzie have also said Nigeria will not meet the target, though Nigeria currently produces 1.5 million barrels of crude daily. Straight to entertainment. Oluwatosin Oluwole Ajibade, also known as Mr. Eze, faced a backlash over claiming Ghana's music influenced Nigerian music. I tweeted that Ghanaian music had a significant influence on Nigerian music, leading to threats from fans and colleagues. Now, despite the backlash, Mr. Eze said he didn't regret his statement, but lamented that some industry friends joined others in cancelling him instead of addressing him privately. Now in sport, Indonesia is interested in partnering with Singapore to host the 2025 Under-20 World Cup despite being stripped of hosting rights. The decision comes after a stampede at a domestic match in Indonesia, which resulted in 135 deaths and a 6-month suspension for football. Indonesia's football popularity has been a significant factor in the country's international success since qualifying for the 1938 World Cup. And that's the news updates from our stories. Please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Applausive Africa, Applausive Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us on Limix at limix.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Emmanuel Olubobokun. Many thanks for watching.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
I had a terrible experience with relaxers growing up, and I didn't want her to go down that route. So for me, I had to go in and find out the best ways and safest ways to grow her hair. And in doing that and in finding out a lot of information, I found a lot of women wanted to do that as well, but they didn't have the information or the background, and I needed to find a way to help them out. And then in doing that, I also decided to found Davella Naturals, which is bringing out the products, ensuring that women had the best care, and also building a community of women who wanted to showcase their inner beauty by the growth of their hair, basically.
And that's just talking about
very
hair.
refreshing,
Yes.
you know, because if you look around now, maybe 80%, 90% of African women, Nigerian women, would like the.
Yes.
Okay? So it's the wig that does it. So what you're saying now is you have to keep the natural.
You have to care for the hair underneath.
Okay.
Because at some point in time, you have to have that confidence. There's some days you're not going to feel like putting on the wig cap and wearing the wig. You also have to have the confidence of the hair underneath all of that. Okay. So I tell my clients that the health of your hair is most paramount. Right. Not necessarily the length, not necessarily how it looks, but how you look after it and how it makes you feel. Because a woman's hair is her crown. That's right. At the end of the day.
All right. So what does it actually take to become a natural hair expert as well as run a successful business around it?
Okay, the most important thing is to have the passion for it. And then the knowledge and the expertise as well. You have to stay on top of current trends. You have to know what it is that is for long-term stay and what it is that people are just fascinated about. I mean, at some point in time, people were looking at putting raw egg in their hair, raw powder. Okay, what will make this one grow? Okay, if I mix garlic and onion and this thing. And that's not saying that those things are not good in and of itself, but you have to get to the compound, the chemical compound of those things in order to get the essence of what it is that they can use to care for their hair. So I always tell my clients that we at Devela Naturals, we redefine hair care, which is to let you know that, okay, you don't need to go around looking for the next best thing. Oh, this one will work or that one will work. You need to know the basics, how to look after it, how to wash it, how often do you wash it, how long do you care for it. So the passion for it, the knowledge behind it, and then being able to be innovative and change with the people that come up, but also knowing that some things are constant in the business.
Well, I'll just have you know that I represent the men,
yes,
you know, in our society. And we've always been told that we are the crown, the women's crown. But you just said to me that really, that's not true.
That the hair
it's your hair that is your crown.
Well, when a woman stands beside her man,
yes,
she has to be able to present herself in a way that he is going to be proud.
Okay.
And when she's confident and proud in her crown, he is also confident and proud in his crown.
So you have it. So you can have a double crown.
Exactly.
anyhow, the natural hair trend, you know, has transitioned into more of a lifestyle actually in Africa, over there, and even beyond.
Yes.
You know, and that's over this maybe 10 years. Now, what will you say is responsible for that?
Okay, for me, it's a growing movement of women understanding who they are and drawing back from a lot of Eurocentric ideas. Growing up, we had relaxers because our mothers thought that that was the easiest way to look after your hair. Oh, your hair is hard. Oh, your hair is strong. You go to the salon,
you're battling when you're combing it.
You're giving yourself a headache, not knowing how to handle the hair, you know. And then also with a lot of research that have come out with the dangers of long-term use of some certain relaxers. I mean, in the US, the FDA is looking on how to ban relaxers in the US because they have seen the health repercussions concerning women. So a lot of women have come back to be like, okay, my true natural hair, what exactly does it take for me to look after it? And then they see the beauty in the hair itself and the versatility in looking after it, and they're proud. Because the pride in your own self is the most important thing in looking after your hair at the end of the day.
Wow.
Hair pride.
Hair pride. Okay, so how sustainable really is setting up a natural hair business in Nigeria? You know, sustainable in the terms of how many people really are interested in keeping their hair natural? How many women, for example? And, you know, when you think of how difficult it is to keep it, you talked about the basics, which we didn't go into, apart from washing. How often do you wash and all that? How sustainable is it? How much of a business can it be, you know, in this setting?
Okay, so for a lot of women, I've seen that they struggle with the hard hair, strong hair mentality first. I always tell people that healthy hair is the main cause first. So if you are still in that mindset of, oh, I need to relax my hair, okay, fine. If you need to relax it, don't do it every 2 months. Maybe do it every 4 months. Then extend it to every 6 months. In the process, you then now find out how to look after your hair in between. So how often are you conditioning it? How often are you going to the salon? If you go to the salon, are you able to tell your stylist this and this and this? Now, the hair care industry is a multi-million-naira industry. The only thing that is probably hindering a lot of people is that there's no proper regulation. And NAFDAC, as well as they are trying to help, they are not necessarily making it easy. And then we also need government to help in terms of loans, in terms of, you know, banks and government being able to give us the right backing, you know, to build industry, to be able to manufacture these things, because we are not struggling within ourselves. We are struggling with international brands, the Shea Moistures, the Cantus, the Carol's Daughters. These brands have come in, and mind you, they get their raw materials from here. their cocoa from Ghana, their shea butter from Ivory Coast, from Nigeria as well. They take it abroad, they manufacture these products and they bring it back. So why do we have to go through that journey when we have companies like mine who make these things in-house? And then also, they need to be able to give us the ability to import a lot of the raw materials that we need to make these products. So access to loans, access to government backing, ability to make the manufacturing industry grow, and we will definitely see a boom in hair care manufacturing in Nigeria.
Is it unnatural
you must feel
hair?
so awkward talking about this.
I'm so awkward that I'm looking for the words. Now, wigs, right, have come as an escape route for a lot of people, to the point that some may even say, hey, who needs natural hair after all? If I can just, quickly put on a wig and go on. So what would be your advice to women who rock their natural hair and might have been a little bit confused with the knocks that natural hair has been taking? What would be your advice to them?
I think I know to what you're alluding to, which is the current viral video that has been going around with a certain woman of God who has said some things that are not palatable. Now, to say those kind of things in an atmosphere where natural hair is still being groomed is actually quite damaging to the esteem of some women who listen and take to heart what things that are said from the pulpit. To say that, quote unquote, who natural hair help, it actually helps a lot, because if you wear your wigs constantly, you will not wear it to sleep. Yeah, you are not going to wear your wig to sleep.
Unless you're with your new boyfriend.
You're not going to wear your wig to sleep. You're not going to wear your wig, when you wake up in the morning. You have to be able to confidently look at that person in the mirror and say that the wig is an accessory to my beauty.
That's right.
It doesn't define my beauty. So at the end of the day, if you sit, for example now, Made Kuti just got married this past week. His wife had different kinds of natural hairstyles all through their wedding, from her afro to an updo to a pin-up look, and they were all very beautiful. And I say that to say this: it doesn't matter if you wear a wig or you do not wear a wig. The person that is meant for you is meant for you at the end of the day.
Okay, I see your hair.
Yes.
It must be natural.
Yes, it is.
Because you are
the ambassador.
Yes, I am the ambassador. And for a lot of us, we think that it's difficult to keep a long hair and still have it natural. Because when it's short, a lot of people who do natural hair, the low cut thin is it for them. So if I want to keep my hair long, and you said something a while ago that really, it resonated with me, that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you see your real you.
Yes.
Not with a wig.
Yes.
But the real you with your hair as it is natural. So just give us those tips now that ladies, women watching this show, and for a few who would like to also take it to the next level, business level, what do we have to do in 2 minutes?
Okay, if in terms of caring for your hair, whether you are currently relaxed or you have natural hair, I would suggest ensure that you have a good clarifying shampoo, a good conditioner, deep conditioner preferably, leave-in conditioner, a good hair oil, and a hair moisturizer. Those are your basic tools that you need. Never allow your hairstylist use a rat tail comb, which is those very, very slim, thin combs on your hair. That's the first route to hair breakage. Always use a wide tooth comb, whether you have relaxed hair or you have natural hair. Lingerie, old satin nightgown that you have in your cupboard somewhere that you've kept, use it to wrap around your pillowcase, because cotton absorbs oil from your pillowcase and the friction rubs on your hair, which makes it difficult for you to keep length. So when women complain about length, I always tell them that consistency is key when you're doing your hair maintenance and you're doing your hair regimen. Make sure that you're consistent. If you're going to the salon, make sure that you understand what it is that you're your stylist is doing to your hair, and that they are not ignorant of how it is, and that you yourself are knowledgeable so that you can teach them, no, I don't want that. Use this instead. No, I don't want that comb. Because you should also have the confidence, you're paying for this thing, to tell them that I don't need this, I want this, and I want that. And then also in the business segment, ensure that you are willing to learn, you are willing to put in the work to be able to say, this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to do it. And also know that your friends and family are always your first customers in whatever business that you start.
This has turned into a masterclass on natural hair for free.
Free, yes sir, yes sir.
And of course, what I'm thinking about now is my hair cap. I'll go get my old haircut.
Yes. Probably. I always tell people that our hair care products are not just for women; they're also for men as well. Okay. Especially men who are trying to grow their beard.
Oh, really?
Yes, our hair oil has been used. By a lot of men.
There's a chin guard.
Exactly. And then, we've had a lot of success with that as well.
Anyway, quickly, let's just, let's even find out, because it can't be all rosy. What challenges have you found that you and your colleagues face in the business of hair care in Nigeria?
It's definitely not rosy. It's definitely not rosy. You have a lot of, like I said earlier on, access to loans is very difficult. You have to either have a fallback, or you have, your family and friends, like I said, are very important when you're starting out your business. In getting marketing is also another thing. And then convincing people that made in Nigeria is also very good, because we are an export European mindset kind of. If it's not made abroad, it's not good enough. So we are trying to change that narrative. Buy the Naira, grow the Naira, made in Nigeria is very important. And knowing that there are actually good quality hair care products made here in Nigeria, affordable enough for you to not want to spend tens of thousands on products made abroad. But we know what it is that is good for Nigerian hair, good for the Nigerian environment, and that will work best for Nigerian women.
Okay.
You may want to ask why murals are important. It is no secret that murals make neighborhoods beautiful. They add color to building walls and streets which would otherwise go unnoticed. They are a treat for locals and tourists alike. Murals have been part of Nigeria's cultural landscape for thousands of years. The term mural became popular with the Mexican muralism art movement. The transformation which took place in the history of mural art during the 1920s and 1930s was highly influenced by the government's sponsorship in Mexico. The Mexican President Alvaro Obregón began a nationalist cultural program in the 1920s. As part of this program, the Mexican Ministry of Education and other government entities to create public murals. In Lagos, the visual effects of wall paintings are an excitement to attract public attention to social issues like the ones here under the Falomo Bridge. An artist, Poli Alakija, created these murals on the columns in homage to the Bring Back Our Girls, the 276 schoolgirls who were abducted on April 14, 2014 by Boko Haram. We speak to an artist, Ebenezer Omole, a 34-year-old who started off as a child and has been painting for many years. This is one of the locations where he has some of his works. He explains the processes involved.
There's a way I blow this color. When you look close to it, you see as if it's flowing down, So I have to follow the flowing down, then blow it both left and right. So in order to make it creative, so that it won't just go down straight, but go left, right, and zigzag like that. I mix another black thicker than this, then to write what they have here. Especially like this is, we have food here, then we have swimming pool here, then we have games
then we have drinks here, then we have pools, music. So I just did an artwork that will speak for this place because this is a restaurant. So I did those backgrounds so to speak. So anybody coming inside, looking at this place alone, so they will know what is going on around there.
He speaks on the distinguished effects imbibed in artistic painting than ordinary ones on the wall.
Ordinary painting is just maybe changing the wall to a particular color that you like. Mural is very interesting, and I used to say it. No painting is complete without an artwork like this. So for your painting to come out well, so you need to add some artistic to it so that will make it more, because a lot of people in the world, they cherish artwork. Now, for example, now, this is lion. A lion represents a king, and the writing here, so it's all about this place, because this restaurant is not just a restaurant, it's a reggae restaurant. So that's why we have most of the color here, reggae color.
Ebenezer further explains that murals are a mode of expression for artists in every graphic style imaginable, abstract, photorealistic, expressionist, to name just a few.
Anyone who is into painting and had a mural painting into his work will get more job than just ordinary painting. No matter how bad situation a building have, when you design it with artistic, even though if it is hot or old building, when you paint it well with this mural artistic painting, it adds more value to the building, and it makes Lagos look more beautiful than, you know.
As a community centerpiece, the wall painting gets a new dimension as a powerful visual communication tool meant to promote the opinion of the people and transmit social and political messages towards unity. Murals bring art into the public space, and because they occupy public spaces, are accessible to everyone regardless of class, education, or ethnicity.
So Nigeria has been at the crossroads of monetary policy drift and fiscal policy indecisiveness in the last 9 years. Now, however, since June 2023, the new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, seems to have decided that all things have passed and new dealings are on the horizon. The public policy rethinking was captured in an initial 8-point public policy initiative that took a fresh look at monetary and fiscal policy management. The president appeared willing to usher in a new dawn on public policy administration. Indeed, in a speech delivered by the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Dr. Olayemi Cardoso, at an end-of-the-year event of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, the Central Bank Governor made it clear that the CBN under the new dispensation would concentrate more on traditional monetary policy goals such as inflation targeting rather than quasi-fiscal economic interventions. However, today on the show, we'll keep our eye on the planned recapitalization of commercial banks plus the BVN, NIN, KYC drift of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Welcome to Business Insights on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye. Now, before we get into the discussion proper, let's take this report. Market women at Tedroshow have been urged to make the most of simple technological tools to scale up their business and accelerate growth. This advice was given during a She-enabled sensitization program organized by the Enterprise, Growth and Opportunities EGO Foundation at Tedroshow Market in Lagos. Details now.
Nigeria is experiencing inflation, and most women are depressed and struggling with their businesses. They are helpless, and most of them are victims of mismanagement due to lack of proper financial management. So it is apt that these young people from the Ego Foundation take time to distribute multilingual pamphlets on the importance of maintaining and reading or computerized records of their sales and stock.
And this is what I know I'm able to make. These are the things that we want to teach you. I sell this thing.
Back here at this hall, women listen with rapt attention on how they can be financially included with the help of their mobile phones. The session is interactive.
I think they will charge about 800 and something, let's say 1,000 naira.
Then how do you reach out to those kind of group members?
Roland Ajetomobi is a serial entrepreneur. He is here to share knowledge and insights with the market women and entrepreneurs on the best way to go.
At the moment you are able to have a mobile device and you can subscribe to that device with internet and data, and you also have a bank account, you can use that device to make money.
Toluwaṣe Olaniyan is a convener. He shares the idea behind desensitization and also speaks on plans to extend the program to other markets.
And for us, it is instructive at this time, right, and very, very important, helping women, supporting women through, becoming a large number of businesses. It's almost natural for women to be excluded, financially. A few people feel it's expensive. Few people feel it's for the high class. So what we're trying to now do is to take it to the inner roots and help them understand like the essence of this and how this can become a lot better.
This petty trader is overjoyed about the knowledge learned. She, like other women, are speaking with one voice on how their horizon have been expanded.
I'm happy because I know that the various women that comes here will be benefited.
You need to mix to have people you know they can afford what you are selling on your status. I mean in your group or your WhatsApp, your Facebook.
I'm not limited to these shop things of a thing. I can easily broadcast it online and how to also reach out to other group members.
Felicia and Olajumoke are just few out of many who have benefited from the She Enabled program, which aims to help women improve their trade, showcase their businesses on digital platforms, upgrade their bookkeeping skill, and at the same time get connected to advisors and global funding opportunities. Welcome back from that feature. In his speech at the CIBN end-of-year conference, the governor of the CBN, Yemi Cardoso, hinted at the need for the banks to brace for recapitalization, considering the significant loss in the value of the current capitalization and the capital required for the envisioned $1 trillion economy. Analysts say the approach should instead be of incentives and not coercion. With the strong performance of the banking sector in the market, which suggests an attractive return on the banking index, there seems not to be a concern for the bigger banks, as investors would willingly commit resources given the lucrative opportunities in the sector. I have international finance and economic analyst Mukhtar Mohammed joining me now to discuss further. Good morning to you, Mukhtar. Many thanks for joining us on Business Insights.
Good morning, Justice. Thank you for having me this morning.
All right. Mukhtar, it's been 19 years. I remember in 2004 when there was so much talk about banking, bank and capitalization, and the market, capital market was booming. Well, it's been 19 years now since the CBN announced banks to recapitalize to $25 billion. Remember what happened with acquisitions, mergers, and marriages of misfits, if I must say. But first up, how do you react to this development?
Well, Justin, very good development. If you're in the Tier 1 bank, very might be a turbulent time for the Tier 2 banks. So in as much I'm excited about it, like you said, we did this 19 years ago when we moved from 2 billion to 25 billion. That was over 1,200% increment. So after that time, we've seen banks recapitalize, came to the market. We've seen shareholders' funds expand, especially in the tier 1 bank. So, like you said in your report, I don't think the tier 1 bank has anything to fear. Maybe the tier 2 banks may have some challenges, not all of them, but again, some of them have been proactive. They're already trying to assess the market before this policy came out from CBN. Up till now, we are not clear yet about how the policy is going to work. So we're still waiting for direction from the CBN. What would be the minimum capital requirement of the banks? Some of the tier 1 banks are doing a profit of over 1 trillion naira. Also, some of them in terms of dollars have recapitalized even to the tune of about $500 million. So it depends on what the CBN governor will be looking at, or the CBN will be looking at, and by the $1 trillion economy. But again, when you want to drive a $1 trillion economy, you ask yourself, have you been able to put in place a $1 trillion fiscal policy? Because if you put in place a $1 trillion monetary policy and you don't have a $1 trillion fiscal policy, then you are in for a shocker.
Okay, in as much as the central bank has not actually given like a direct policy guidelines on how much recapitalization the banks are supposed to do this time around, but reactions have been trailing that development. I have spoken to some analysts, and they have like a mixed grill of how it should go in terms of approach. Some are saying that it should be more of incentives and not coercion. How should the CBN go about this? Do you agree with the whole coercion and incentives based approach?
I think both has to come to play. You can't just use one, depending on which. Like I said, if you're a tier 1 bank, then you must have a lot of incentive. If you're a tier 1 bank, you have to have a lot of coercion. If you're a tier 1 bank, then you're a tier 2 bank, then you need to begin to think about incentives. So it all depends on where we are. But I like some of the analysts have said it's not recapitalization that definitely make the bank stronger. It's the strategy behind the recapitalization. Because if you recapitalize, do you have the monetary policy tool, or do you have the tool to monitor this recapitalization? Or do you have the human capital to make sure that you drive this recapitalization? Because this will involve a lot of liquidity in the system. And again, you remember in when we did the first recapitalization, we saw a lot of banks came in there. At that time, the CBN governor, then now governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, said it will be typical for any Nigerian bank to fail. But it didn't take long. After the recapitalization, we saw a lot of banks going out, and that was due to lack of human capacity to monitor the type of liquidity and risks that some of these banks were taking at that time. So if you're talking about recapitalizing the bank, how much human capacity have you developed as a regulator, and how much human capacity has you also developed as a money deposit bank to manage the kind of liquidity that is coming into the system?
So talking about liquidity, before I move into my next question, I just want to analyze some things you said in passing when we did the last recapitalization 19 years ago with some banks failing, and most banks were exposed as per their weaknesses and all of that. Do you see that playing this time around? Would this new capitalization show us exactly the true picture of what the commercial banks and deposit money banks are really doing in terms of strength?
Just in the pictures are there to show if you follow their earnings.
Right.
So you could see that's why we categorize the banks tier 1, tier 2 banks now. Because even in the tier 2 banks, you have what I call super tier 2 banks that are beginning to compete favorable with the tier 1 banks. So it depends on where you are and what you are trying to achieve. For me, I think when you talk about that, I think the banks have really driven the Nigerian economy thus far. They've been one of those resilient sector that we have seen in the Nigerian economy. Despite the various challenges, they still turn in good profit, they still turn in good earnings, they still pay good dividend to their shareholders. Of recent, most of them have even hiked their their interim dividend by almost 45% to their shareholders. So definitely you will see that the banks have really lived up to the expectation, whether in tier 1 or tier 2. But like I said, the challenge with Nigerian banks will not only be that of liquidity again or recapitalization, like you said in your report. Recapitalization might not be a problem for the Nigerian banks, and I still see it. The worst that will happen, you see, re-strategizing, like I said, incentive, whereby you might begin to see merger, and you see coalition, whereby you begin to see maybe some bigger banks outside the shore of this country begin to take stake in the tier 1 bank also. So all this will come to play, but as it stands now, I think by virtue of the results, that the Nigerian banks are stronger. And if you do a stress test today, and like the CBN governor alluded to, the banks are not having any financial crisis, but they are looking towards building a $1 trillion economy, which they think that the bank should play a significant role in building that. And if they have to do that, then their liquidity must be high, especially via the exchange rate as it stands now.
All right, let me share more reactions that I got with you. Some have said that the CBN can use prudential guidelines to strengthen tiered arrangement. They said that the Apex Bank can also use differential cash reserve requirement and preferential participation in the forex market for well-capitalized banks as some of the incentives. Do you foresee challenges for some banks, and what direct impact would it put on the capital market?
Well, for the capital market, I think the capital market will be the most beneficial if this scheme comes to true, like what you saw in 2004, or driving that when they came to the recapitalization, actually brought a lot of Nigerians into the capital market. And that could also be great, especially bringing young Nigerians into the capital market if this policy starts and most of the banks have to recapitalize. In terms of the policy statement, where some analysts are saying about using your cash reserve system, using your participation in the FX market, accessing the CBN windows and all that could be some of the criteria of policy to use to know incentive for these banks. I don't think that we'll know what the CBN, what is going to be the minimum capital requirement of the Nigerian banks. And not to forget that most of the tier 1 banks, even some tier 2 banks are now having subsidiary outside the shore of this country, and not just in this country alone, in larger financial cities of the world, like London, like France, like also in New York. And so they are really expanding, and they are playing their role in the global economy. So that's why I think it will not be a challenge for them to attract the kind of capital they need to build on their capital base, especially with the kind of opportunity that are much in Nigeria.
All right, before we move into some other things that the CBN is talking about or is actually planning, you talked about banks, branching out to outside the shores of the country, New York, London, and all of that. In recent times, we've been seeing lots of banks forming parent companies and all of that. I just want to get your reactions concerning that.
Justin, the world has gone to become a one shop business, and they call it one shop place. So the banks are not don't want to be left out, especially with the advent of the fintech side of the economy. So what the banks are doing now is to diversify into holding structures, like it's done globally. JP Morgan has been holding structure. So most of these banks have holding structure, and so Nigerian banks are beginning to take opportunity of that also to build holding structure, and I think it's good. But again, my challenge is also in the area of monitoring. But thank God what the CBN have done. The CBN is not interested in what they are doing in the holding structure, because the banks now become part of the holding structure. But the CBN is key about what the banks are bringing into the holding structure finance, and that is key for me. The CBN have refused, even after the bank has said, look, we are not a holding company. The CBN is still having a grip on the banking sector still have to edit, you have to check their books, you have to know whether what they're saying is right. So I think it's a good development in the long run, because that's what the best global practice these days. Every bank wants to become a one-shop center, and I think Nigerian banks should not be left out. And that is why we think there's so much opportunities in if the bank will have to recapitalize, the kind of opportunity they will drive, especially from the foreign exchange market, will be very huge, because we begin to see a lot of foreign investors coming in and wanting to take a stake in this bank, especially in their holding companies, like the fintech companies who want to come here, especially because of also a larger population of youth, and also the lack of penetration that we have in financial inclusion. So they come in, bringing the products, you could begin to see a lot of penetration. So there's a huge opportunity in that space, and I think that's why the banks don't want to be left out. That's why they are forming holding companies.
All right, just before we round off now, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it will freeze accounts without a bank verification number, BVN, or National Identification Number, NIN, from April 2024. According to the bank, a BVN or NIN verification will be conducted shortly, adding that the move is part of its efforts to promote financial system stability and strengthen the Know Your Customer KYC procedures in financial institutions. What are your thoughts, Mukhtar? Because right now, I thought by now everyone would have been linked to the BVN platform as it is.
Yeah, according to the CBN, Martin one publication have it that we have about 45 million Nigerians with that BVN, and I was shocked. But again, I'm looking at it, some of these Nigerians might be Nigerian in the diaspora since the last time they opened an account in Nigeria, they've not been here. Also could be as a result of passing on. Maybe some of them are late now. We don't have a better register to determine. Right. So I don't think any banks again are doing businesses in Nigeria. You can transact any account in Nigeria without a BVN, especially when you want to transact. To say you own an account, yes, definitely. When you own an account that is not linked to a BVN, when you get to the bank will make sure they link that account to the BVN before you have any transaction. I think the major problem is from the wallet area, the kind of wallet coming, and this has to do with fintech. Most of them have not been able to transit that session of linking their customers with the BVN. Even in the Ikeja Electricity Assistance now have already linked their customers with their BVN, their customer NIN to their prepaid meter. So definitely I'm surprised that the CBN is trying to rule out sanctions and measures. I think more or less most of those accounts could be what I just said will happen. So what we need to do is to reach out to some of these account holders and know ascertain what current status are in those accounts. That could be what we should do than just putting the whole banking sector into a panic mode.
All right, thank you so much, Mukhtar. Thanks for all of the useful insights that you have shared on the show for today. We do appreciate them.
Thank you, Justin, for having me. Good morning.
All right, and that's the size of the show for today. I am Justin. Academia Business Insight will return to your screen same time. Many thanks for being there. Bye for now.
Hydration is when you have enough water content in your body. Then you're hydrated. And what is dehydration? Dehydration is the opposite of hydration. That's lack of water. And a lot of people are suffering from dehydration. Why are they suffering from dehydration? A lot of people find it difficult to drink water. It's healthy for you to get up in the morning and drink water, a glass of water. It cleanses your system. It makes you start on a good mood. It's when you take enough water, your skin equally glows. You know, your mood is well balanced. You're not feeling tired, because when you are dehydrated, you tend to feel tired. You tend to feel sick because your body is toxic. You understand? So your body is toxic, and things that are not supposed to be in your body are being retained in your body instead of it being flushed out. When you are properly hydrated, then you pee, you go to the toilet, you urinate, you sweat well, which is very, very healthy. In doing that, the excess things you do not require, the toxins you do not require are passed out from the body. So it makes you healthy. Watermelon is good. Watermelon has a lot of water. Pineapple is good. You know, you can take this fruit like cucumber. If you okay, let me just give you these little tips. You can do your mix your cucumber, blend your cucumber with watermelon, blend it with a bit of beetroot, add a bit of ginger to it. It will keep you very, very energized. It will keep you alert when you have your then add apple to it, because definitely apple is going to sweeten it up, but not too much. So you can add apple to it, but it's going to keep you energized for the day. Then another combination, like I said, is an addition to another combination that can give you enough energy for the day. You can have your kale, you can have a bit of pineapple, you can have a bit of so when I say a bit, it is now for you to come to us and ask us what the bit is. But so you have your banana, you have your kale, you have your pineapple, you can add a bit of chai seed to it. Blend is energy given. Kale on its own is powerful. Is a power bank of veggies. Then banana is another. So you have your banana there, you have your pineapple, you have your kale, you have your chai seed. If you want, you can add a bit of ginger to it, depending on. But you're beautiful with that. Then with water, you're fine. Well, we need to have fruit in our life, because we don't want to go to the hospital. They help fight, they help combat diseases in the body. So you derive vitamins from fruits. Your body absorbs your food properly when you eat well. When you take in fruits, your body metabolizes the food you eat. You're not constipated while you eat. Your body metabolizes your food properly. When you take enough fruit, you have a very glowing skin. When you take fruits, you have vitamins, it helps aging. Some of us that are tending towards, and we don't want to look old, take enough fruits. You'll be fine. Your face, your skin, everything will glow. You have to find out what that child likes. all children are not the same. So you need to know what that child likes. When you find out what the child likes, then you start mixing food together. Most children, not all of them anyway, they have sweet tooth. So it could be a combination of banana with some other things, you know. But the first thing is to find out what the child likes. When you get what the child likes, then day in, day out, you introduce it into their meals. You can make it into smoothies. You can make it into juice for them because it's easier to take. When you make juices or you make smoothies, it's easier for them to take a whole lot of you to enjoy cucumber. Cucumber has high water content and it's really good for the body. But for you to enjoy cucumber, you can combine your cucumber with other fruits that you love to eat. Take for example, some people like pineapple, some people like apple. Combine it with the fruit you enjoy, then you can make it into probably juice. You can juice it, you can make smoothies of it. You can make your salad interesting. When I say interesting, make your veggies, add some fruit to it. Add your chicken and all that, then add some fruit to it. Most fruit gives your normal vitamins. So I'm going to start with apple. Apple will help you with apple will help you with your digestion. The beetroot will help you with metabolism. Citrus fruits, lemon for example, cleanses your system.
Hello, welcome to Timeless Conversations today. My guest is a gentleman who is an epitome of altruism. All the while that I've known him, he has always done stuff just for the common good of everybody around him. In fact, to the extent that I see him as Dr. Selfless. I said Dr. Selfless because he's a medical doctor by training. Please welcome with me Dr. Dokun Adedeji. He prefers to be called Dokun Adedeji.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We also call him Papa. Now, let's talk about you as the person. As much as possible, I will make you talk about things you don't want to talk about. You don't like being the focus. But how would you not be the focus when you are the firstborn of your family?
Yeah, truly, I'm firstborn, but sometimes the firstborn also can be silent in the sense that others outshine him or something. But I've lived my life like this. My kid brothers and sisters looking up to me again, and also my parents having so much trust and confidence in my leadership ability over my kids. And I think that has helped me in other things that I've done, I've been able to do.
Okay. Your family is from Igbarodo. No, Igbaroke.
Yes.
In Ondo State.
Yes.
Were you born there?
I wasn't.
But you also have a very strong connection to Igbarodo.
Oh, yeah.
Igbaroke.
You know, the thing, when my father retired and we were living in Lagos, after a while he got tired of living in Lagos, he moved to Igbaroke and then my mother joined and they were living there until they died. So we had no choice than to keep visiting them until my mom died some months ago.
Yes.
So, and they have their house there, which is still there. And we're also close to some of the things they do there. And the current Oba who were also close to him. So in a sense, because of my parents, we had to be going regularly, and that was how I got a bit close to
Tigbaroke. Now, but let's talk about your family life, your early childhood. What did your dad and your mom do that was useful, helpful in turning you guys out the way you have turned out?
You know, I like that because I'm beginning to see the effect of how we were brought up and what they did on our own current lives and the way we are trying to live our family lives. My father was a banker until he retired during the Murtala Muhammad, some funny things, as we learned. And then my mom actually did not work because my father said her responsibility was us. And she also took it like that until when she decided to work, then she was doing just some trading, got involved in a lot of things. So she had time to be with us. My father too managed to find time to go. And banking then, it's not like today. It's like cutthroat and then all kinds of stuff. My father still had time. So whenever I came back, I remember in those days, we would sit down as a family, we were talking generally about things. And those things that we used to talk about had been some sort of the things that have guided the way we all have grown up. About values, about systems, about how people should connect with other people and how they connected with us and how we saw them connecting with just ordinary people.
Okay. So what was the decision to send you to school back in, that was Ado-Ekiti?
I remember.
were you that stubborn?
No, I wasn't. You see, we were living in Lagos. I did all my primary school and all those in Lagos. And my parents felt that they wanted me to have a kind of rural background with education being the primary focus and also the Christian nature of it. So I did a variety of exams, I passed them. When I now decided I was going to go to some particular, they said, sorry, you are going to Christ School, Ado-Ekiti. And I think it was the best choice for me as well.
Okay.
And living Lagos, the glamour of Lagos and all the rascality, to then go to Christ School, that was backwater kind of a thing. And then, although again, I got there meeting some friends of mine who also came from Lagos with the same parental leaning that we want you to go somewhere and learn about other people, other things aside from Lagos.
Okay.
So it was fun.
What did that do to you? Apart from the fun aspect of it.
No,
being away for the first time?
Being away for the first time was tough. I remember the first time that we were on holiday, I was to come home. I think my dad couldn't send someone to pick me or something, so I had to come by public transport or something. So for me, it was jarring, never done that before. And also what it helped me to do was to meet a lot of people from different backgrounds. And in those days, it doesn't matter whether we were Christian or not. I mean, I met all kinds of people. And also it allowed me to settle into education and also gave me the opportunity of going to some extracurricular things that had built my life today. It was a very good experience for me.
So, what led you to decide to read medicine?
To read medicine? To be honest with you, and I try to be as modest as possible. I was good in all the subjects. I was very good. I was one of the best in my class, in my school at the time. So for me, and again, you know, those days, if you were not a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, and truly, if I didn't read medicine, I would have read law.
Okay.
And so I decided to read. And again...
So it wasn't like your dad insisted you were to read? Because, you know, it was like in those days, they would say, this is what you read.
You see, I think my family had been lucky with the kind of parents we had. None of us was mandated or corralled to read a particular, it was by choice. And I think some of the things that guided me, I remember when we were living in Ibadan, and I was to make a choice. I remember my dad's friend, two of them very well. One was Professor Femi Williams. He was pathologist in in UCH. And then I was Professor Shofora, who was also in UCH. And they were my dad's very close friends. They used to come. And I saw Professor Williams. I remember him very well. He would wear black trousers, white short sleeve with a black bow tie, and I like that. It was very well. I'm very intelligent man, and from school, I passed all this. I just said I was going to read medicine.
So you wanted to become another Femi Williams?
In a sense, in terms of the way it was sartorially presented and very intelligent and very professional.
You also dress very well too, sure you know.
Oh, I thank you.
Yes.
No, people say that, but
yes.
It's just by nature, I like to be simple, but I like to be, I'm very meticulous about the things that I do, even dressing, even writing, whatever I do. So people find a bit of trouble with that. I was too particular about things, but it's just my nature.
So it's been how many years since you left Ife? I mean, yes, since you went into
medicine.
Medicine, yes.
I left medical school, I think must have been about 38 years now.
Yeah, that's almost 40 years.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And I practiced medicine for quite a while until I got tired, and whilst I was in Cadbury. So, and incidentally, you know, things sometimes work in ways that you don't understand but that you desire. After being in medical practice as a medical director in Cadbury, then I was getting tired of medicine. I said to myself, I would rather do something else. So in the process, Cadbury then had an issue. And then the MD, then a white man, thank God for white men, I mean for this reason, he called me and said, we talked about something in the company because of the issue, all the directors had gone, and they want me to move to human resources, to head human resources. I said to him, hey, I'm a doctor. So he said, no, we know, but we know that you can do it. We will give you all the practical background that you need, experience, and then we put it. So he said, okay, they'll come in, let me have an interview with the other directors who are white too. I keep mentioning the white thing because I'm not sure if the MD was black or Nigerian, whether they'll give me that opportunity.
That's a deep one.
Honestly.
We will interrogate it.
Oh, please, let's do. You know why I'm saying so?
Yes.
This was a man, they brought him because he had retired, they brought him from the UK.
Okay.
Wallace Galland. I remember his name very well. Cadbury had problems, some white people had come on the board. Alistair was there, Mike was there, and I think, and also Wallace. So he walked to my office, actually in the clinic. He had been looking for me, I wasn't there. So then he came, he shut the door and said, Doko, I want us to have a chat. I said, what is it? He said, we've been thinking about something I've discussed with them in headquarters in Birmingham. We want you to become the head of HR. I said, look, I'm a medical doctor by profession. He said, we know, but we have seen things in you that can make you that make us believe that you can handle it. So, but he said, what they will do then is try and give me practical background and all this and all the training required. I said, okay. And he said, I will think about it, that he will call me. So he got back to me, he called me and said, will I be available for an interview on Friday? I said, okay, fine. Then he called back and said, no, tomorrow. So I met the other directors, two of them, Mike, the other white man, then the South African, white South African, Alistair Gore. So we had the interview, and then 2 days later he called me and said, look, they've agreed that I should be moved to human resources, that if I don't like it, I should let them know I'll come back to medicine.
We'll come back to it. Let me just say that, don't you think that attitude was more from where they're coming from than because of their skin color?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If I alluded to white, it was
yes.
because they were white then. Well, I think it's them.
Yeah.
It's just their way, their attitude of giving anybody a chance who can do something. Not necessarily because of the skin color.
Okay, fine.
It is not unlikely that there could be some Nigerians with such disposition, but at that time there was none in my periphery.
Okay.
So I think it was more. It wasn't because of the, some also came, they were terrible, white guys, but not necessarily because of their skin color.
So what was that experience like, switching from the clinic being medical director to becoming HR director?
Honestly, it was enlightening. It gave me a wider berth in understanding. But you see, what had also helped me was the fact that as a doctor, I was dealing with human beings in a clinical sense of mobility. Yeah. But when I moved to it, I was now dealing with human beings in a social environment with their working relationship and all that they practice. So it was just a shift, but it's still about people.
Okay.
But I think it deepened my interest in people and gave me a better understanding of what trips people, how they live their lives, and what affects them. It was very good for me, and after a while again, I got tired. I said I wanted to leave.
We'll take a break. We'll be back to continue. It's still Timeless Conversations. Our guest is Dr. Dokun Adedeji. We'll be back. Welcome back to Timeless Conversations with Dokun Adedeji as our guest today. So you were saying you got tired and you thought, let me go.
You see, it's an interesting thing about what had happened to me. When I was in the clinic, I had the liberty to to practice medicine the way I always loved to practice. I had everything. The company gave me the latitude to have the things that I required to practice. And so it was a different experience for me from working in the private sector. And so when after a while, I just saw, I come here, I treat people, I do this, I can't wake up the dead. So I said to myself, I'd like to have a different experience. You know, the thing that helped me, as the clinic was under the HR department, so I was attending top managers meeting and all those. So I was making contributions to our discussions, and I said that, look, this is something that I didn't think I was going to go to HR until that opportunity came. So when it came, you know, whilst I was even in the clinic, I was involved in some NGOs where I put so much time and interest even whilst working. And so I began to say to myself, and I came with the experience of what Bill Gates said. Bill Gates said when he called his colleagues and said, look, when he becomes 50, he was going to retire. And he began to do other things that gave him satisfaction and opportunities to do other things. So I said to myself, I've worked in the clinic, I've been HR, I've done my bit. I would like to spend the rest of my life doing things for other people and doing things that I enjoy, not necessarily for money, but for satisfaction. And so after a while, I told the company that I would like to leave. So they said, well, I said, I just was tired. There was no way I would become the MD of the company. I mean, going by what I can see, because I'm limited in that scope. And I'd rather, now when I can still do stuff, go and do things. And they said, okay, fine. So I left. And since I left, I've been involved in the NGOs that I mentioned, that now I superintend over it, and it gives me absolute satisfaction. And the peace it brings to me, I can't quantify it. So I thought I made the right decision.
So it's like you turned the page.
Oh, yes.
In your life's story.
Oh, yes.
And decided I'm going to be more into NGO, social service, as it were. Now, the NGO is Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry. That's CADAM. What informed its formation?
You know, sometimes, I remember when I won an award, and the chairman of the company, because I won the chairman's award in Cadbury, which was an international award, Cadbury staff worldwide. So the chairman asked me, he said, Dokun, what gave you this desire to do this thing? That I said, honestly, I don't know. I just think it's my nature. It's not the same thing. What happened was, I never smoked before, never drank before. One day in church, the pastor just said, look, we're starting a new ministry called Drug Addict Rehabilitation Ministry to cater to the people that have been on drugs, maybe in the hospital at home. They didn't have any intention of turning to anything else, so I joined. So once I was there, it then began, not because of my medical background, but it was just my nature. So when we were there, I began to suggest to people that, look, going to the joints and meeting this addict, just talking to them was not, they even said to us that, look, we want you to take us out of this and then put us in a place where we can get rehabilitated. That was what began the journey. So I then got very involved in it. We then built our center, began to admit people And we went to see people turn around. There are quite a number of them. There are still a lot of them that are drug-free, living productive lives. So that was my interest.
In what year was this?
The ministry actually
Yes.
was founded by Pastor Deyemi. I think he founded the ministry in 1991.
Okay.
And then I joined the ministry in 1992.
So that's like 1991 today. That's 30 years
Yes,
ago.
and then
so you've
29.
been with it.
I've been in the ministry for about 29 years.
29 years.
And since I retired in 2010,
yes,
this is what I've been doing full time. Even I wasn't paid. But that was not until now Mommy Joe now set up a board. The board said, no, you couldn't have been doing this all these many years and then we don't. So they said they'll give me some allowance. But the allowance is not even the important thing. But the fact that it was touching people's lives, people's homes, people's families and parents.
Let's talk about not just the testimonials yet, but the drug abuse situation in Nigeria. I know it's a global thing, but let's situate it within our own area.
Lekon, one of the greatest tragedy for me, or pain for me, is the issue and our attitude to substance abuse in Nigeria. Why do I say that? Since I got involved, we've been shouting at what I'm seeing that will envelope. When initially, some years ago, they said Nigeria was a user nation, a transit nation. People carry through Nigeria. I remember telling one of the top echelons of NDLA, was actually the chairman, and we're joking that then we were even a user nation. Because they didn't believe until 2013, when NDLA finally agreed that we're a user nation. Then I cautioned again, a year or thereafter, that we're not just a user, we're manufacturing. Everybody said, no, it can't be. Where am I going to? In 2017, a survey was done by the UNODC. The report came out in 2018. The global average prevalence use of substance abuse globally was 5.6%. In Nigeria at that time was 14.4%, translating to over 14 million Nigerians between ages 15 and 64 that had used drugs the previous year. And let me say this, that survey probably did not take into cognizance people who do it in the office, people who do it socially, these were people they thought that were doing drugs on a regular basis. This year, the country representative of UNODC said that figure is close to 20 million. And you know, the thing that people also need to know is this. Out of every 4 substance use abuse disorders, 1 is a female. In Nigeria, the preponderance of use in Nigeria in the population is age 25 to 39, which is the economic productive years of any nation.
Yeah.
In Nigeria today, over almost 12 million people use cannabis. Marijuana. And I can tell you, Lekon, there is no area of this country that does not have a drug joint.
Freeze. Marijuana. They say that the marijuana grown in certain parts of Nigeria, right, is the best in the world. When you say is the best in the world, is there any economic opportunities derivable from that? Because I recall that even Governor Akeredolu is calling for the legalization of marijuana production.
You know why I'm laughing? Incidentally, Governor Akeredolu and I were classmates at Ayetoro.
Yes.
We're very good friends. He knows this is what I do. I disagree with him completely. You see, anybody who talks about legalization of marijuana are blinded to some facts. We know, as a matter of fact, that the marijuana grown in Nigeria, the component THC component that is the terrible one that affects the mental and disturbs people, is very high. You see, the marijuana grown abroad for the legal uses are modified. So they're modified to the extent that the THC component is not as heavy as it is here. To say that the best in Nigeria is a fallacy. Nigeria is the 5th highest producer of marijuana in the world. Now, the thing about this is, we are not in a state yet, and I don't know when we can get there, when we can sort of decide that this is what we use marijuana for. So legalizing it will be a tragedy. It will take us down slope. And I'm glad that General Marwa has spoken against it, as many of us are against it. We need to be very careful. Yes, economic benefits are there, because we know that within marijuana, there are over 100 and something substances or compounds in it. And some of them are used in the manufacturing, they're used in building, they're used in hair industry,
hair production,
beauties and all those things. They're also used in medicine. But one thing that people forget, even the medical marijuana is not an answer to many of the conditions we use them for. In infantile epilepsy, for instance, which sometimes is used, it is not everyone that has infantile epilepsy that benefits from marijuana. And we have also known that regular drugs that are used for those conditions are far more efficacious than even marijuana. Trying to legalize it and under the guise of the legal use is just to make it into something that becomes acceptable if we're not careful. Marijuana will join the class of socially acceptable substances like alcohol and cigarette, and it's becoming like that in Nigeria surreptitiously.
Yes. Because
a lot of people use marijuana. And you know, one thing that I'd like to say is this. There are varieties of marijuana, various kinds that people are now using in Nigeria. They call it loud, they call it Arizona, they call it Colorado. They are not marijuana at all.
What about the one they call skunk?
Skunk is different. Okay. Skunk is, let me take that and then I'll go back.
Yeah.
Skunk is a combination of marijuana, dry leaves of pawpaw, and then cocaine. That is why when people begin to use skunk, they begin to have a tendency towards addiction because of the cocaine element.
Okay.
And then they all, you see, and it's more expensive. They give a reason to say, oh, because it's higher in potentiality, and that's why people use it, and it's more expensive than ordinary marijuana. Maybe ordinary marijuana, 5 rounds may cost about 100 naira or thereabout. But skunk, a pinch of skunk may cost you 2,000 or thereabout. But if I go back to Colorado and Arizona, we know that in those substances, which is not marijuana in itself, the marijuana component of them is about 10 to 11%. The rest is made of chemicals and herbs. And that is why when you see people use it, they can go berserk. They will begin to. It is the element, it is not the marijuana anymore because it's very low. It is the chemical component. They are synthetic marijuanas. And that is what is common to them. And why people use them is because the smell does not have the peculiar smell of marijuana. So if you use it at home, parents may not know. But what brings it out is the effects and consequences. And those are things, we need to do something about the substance.
You know, you said that marijuana, unfortunately, was becoming, or sadly was becoming, surreptitiously a socially acceptable drug. I recall that growing up, joints where they sold or smoked marijuana were not very much welcome within residential areas, right? But these days, sadly, people smoke marijuana on the street, openly, even people in uniform.
You know, you see, the thing is, dealing with the issue of substance abuse in Nigeria needs strategic thinking and implementation. And to be honest with you, I'm glad that General Marwa has come to become the chairman of NDLEA. He was chairman of PASIDA, and in the process, he met with a lot of stakeholders. So he had a very good understanding of what the issues are. And I think it's beginning to unfold. My fear is, I hope they give there's a political will to help him and also the resources. In the sense that one of the things we must begin to do in Nigeria is look at the NDLEA proper. The law setting it up has to be reviewed, in my own understanding. It's too omnibus. what they expect to do, this. If we don't begin to particularize their area of attention, yes, it's good. They can be doing the interdiction, catching people and all the rest. But we need to place emphasis on demand reduction. If we don't do that, because one of the things that the Europeans have understood is this. They give us a lot of gadgets to catch people at the airport. You can't carry the drug. So what happens with the drug that doesn't go out? They get domesticated. And if they get domesticated, it allows accessibility and availability on different scales. So people can get it, they can use it. So the thing we must begin to look at now is how do we look at this thing? As you said, I doubt if you walk down this whether you won't find where you can buy it. And it's not limited to motor. You see, the wrong impression we've always had. We thought people who do drugs are motor park boys, rascals. It's not true. Big people, I mean, some experiences we are seeing lately have shown us that big people do. If you want to see some of these things in some areas of secluded areas of Lagos, highbrow areas, is to watch during break time. When you see, what do they call, yuppies, leave their offices in suit and everything, you see them drive to a house. They're not going there to have, just sit down. There's something that's going to happen there. Many of the parties today that are highbrow are drug fed. So we need to be aware, and you probably also have noticed or seen from when they has done, many of the cookies, many of these things are bought online. People are making drugs and putting them in food materials and selling them to young people. And so that's why we need to worry. And when you talked about tackling it and about the availability, look, whether highbrow or anywhere in Lagos, there's no place, there's no joint.
You know, that's something that's very scary. You said there's possibly nowhere in Nigeria, no part of Nigeria where there is no joint, drug joint. What I have found is that even the drug of use, the preferred drug of use, differs from region to region.
Absolutely.
So that's like a hydra-headed problem.
Good. You know, you've just told us something that I'd like to elaborate. You know, in CADAM, we sat down and looked at the spectrum of the things available, and then we came to a classification. 4 groups. The first one is socially acceptable, alcohol and cigarette. Go and check today. There is no alcohol you will not find in sachet. And why do they put it in sachet? The man who cannot buy the bottle can buy the sachet. The sachet is about 20 naira. So when you go to the joint, you see them buy like 2 of them, using them, raise the amount, put it out, and then begin to use the drug of that day. And then so it allows students to buy it. And then let's go to the next way, which is illicit. Illicit classification, which everybody knows. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, skunk, and all of them. And all of them. Illegal, illicit because they're illegal. You can't carry them on your person and then take them, you'll be caught. And then the third one is prescription drugs. Something like tramadol, something like Refnol, something like Valium, something like injection pentazocine. These are drugs that are prescribed in hospitals for moderate to severe cases of pain. One of the things we're beginning to find that is scary, and I'm talking very responsibly because they are being called to come and intervene. There's a particular drug called injection pentazocine, which is you can get on the counter. They call it Fortwin. It's a painkiller, which is usually used for sicklers, which has been corruptly used carelessly for sicklers. If you give pentazocine to someone, in 5 minutes the pain will disappear. You will see and say, hey, there's no pain. So it's become common because you can get it everywhere. Doctors, nurses are also beginning to abuse it. And also things like pethidine, drugs you can get in the hospital. I mean, Refnol is a drug of prescription that people get. Most of these, all these drugs that I mentioned, you can get them across the counter in Nigeria, prescription. So that's the 3rd category. The scary one is the 4th category. We call them miscellaneous. Why do we say miscellaneous? Because you can't classify them as drugs. Petrol, nail polish remover, gum, a stick, something like toilet fumes, pit latrine, or if a non-flowing gutter, the stuff are taken and built it into a mold and put fire to it, and then they inhale it. You see, this is not localized to Nigeria. I saw it in Kenya when I visited Kenya some years ago. Some young, you know when you see people go to dung hill to begin scavenge, you watch some of them. They will sit down, put fire to it, and stand around it. The fumes that come out produce something like methane, which is also something that they inhale. So that is why we should worry, just as you said. If I can't afford cocaine, I will afford something in that category that gives the same effect in lesser category. And then lizard dung. People will gather the white part of the lizard dung, grind it, and then put fire to it or sniff it.
Oh, no.
And also, around Pakistan, Eastern Asia, they use scorpion. They will kill scorpion, dry it, and then use it to see. In Nigeria here, there's something called gegemu. You may not know it. People in the villages know it. There is a natural growing plant that they plant behind the house to drive snake. It has fruits. How students knew that it could get them high, I don't know. It was one of the universities that I went to in Nigeria, in Southwest, that told me they will pluck the leaves, they will boil it as if they boil vegetable. You can't take the fluid neat, extremely potent. So they'll put it in bottles. When they go to parties, they'll be giving you a bit. The fruit, they will pluck it, dry it, grind it, either sniff it or put it in alcohol. So when you talk about, there are different areas. We know that in some places, they put some of this in AC.
What?
So when people, oh yes, AC vent. So that's why you see them, they have their closed parties. They can do this, so they get high.
But what does that getting high do to them or do for them?
It's a, I will call it an escape mechanism without they knowing it. Because what they mean is, when I do this, truly, there's a high that comes with sniffing or taking this thing. And the high is ephemeral. What do I mean by that? You take it, it makes you feel, oh, I'm on top of the world. Your problems, your pain seem to disappear. But it's like a Mexican story. A man carried a lot of load on his head. And he said, let me rest. He put it and he sleeps. And when he wakes up, what does he do? He picks up his load. It's the same thing with addiction. It gives a kind of freedom. I've taken it, I feel high. But the problem you are running away from, they don't disappear because you've taken something.
No.
When you wake up, you pick up your problem.
Right away.
So unless people begin, you see, there's a lot of work to do if you're getting people to understand why they should not get high at all.
I'll come back to that. Lot of work to do. Let's just take a short break now, and then we'll continue. We're going on a break now. Welcome back from that break. It's still Timeless Conversations with Dokun Adedeji, my guest. Yes, we're talking about drug abuse, the prevalence of drug abuse, and you were alluding to how it is so widespread, the 4 categories. What's the way out?
You know, honestly, I'm not as pessimistic as some people think about this issue of substance that we can't get out. We can get out.
Yeah.
But it takes complementary effort. And for us to understand that it is not the NDLA stuff or NAFDAC stuff alone, you know.
Okay.
It's about all of us. And I'll tell you how and why. To start drugs, many times we find out it starts from the home. I'm not saying that every home that has a problem, their children will take drugs. No. But it gives them there's something. There's something.
There's
that
a gravitation.
Absolutely, that then pushes them to take it. The thing is, primarily, that I say today is parents must be parents again. You and I grew up in a society that it takes a village to train a child.
Yeah.
Your neighbor can first of all push you by the ears and bring you to your parents.
No, flog you mean?
And flog you.
Yes.
And then still bring you to your parents and parents
And
will
they'll flog
flog
you
you.
again. Yes.
It doesn't happen today.
Yeah.
Parents go to schools to beat up teachers. What are you telling the child? He can get away with blue murder. Many parents don't know their children.
Yeah.
Because they are in economic pursuit of happiness, in quotes. Everybody wants to work. Everyone wants to be like the Joneses. You see, there's something that I tell people. You know, in psychology, there are 3 psychological components of the human person. The id, the ego, this. Many of us, no matter the level we get to, still suffer from deficit in ego. And the ego is, who am I? Many of us don't know who we are. We have not sat down to say, who am I? What is my purpose on earth? I didn't just get born because I want to be a part of a number. There has to be something for me particular or specific that I need to do to excel in that makes me feel confident about who I am. That is why you see people want to be like somebody else.
Yes.
You know, Wole Soyinka says something, he said, a tiger does not need to proclaim his tigritude.
At all.
A tiger is a tiger.
Yeah.
And you know, people forget that no matter your disposition, you are also prone to success. There are very good barbers, very good tailors, very good different things, but the society has shifted focus. And generally we all have lost focus, even the church. What does the church talk about today? Money.
Prosperity.
Prosperity. How can you prosper when you have not labored? And then the kind of teaching that the Bible says is not the application of what the pastors say today.
Oh no, you actually you hear church members say that, oh, that brother is driving a Mercedes Benz.
I claim
it. Claim what?
Claim what?
Why? Did you claim the problems that came with it?
With it? And do you know how he got his Benz?
Yes.
You know, until we train our children, as I said to you, my father used to sit with us and talk. My father never talked about money. Money is good, but he talked about values. And you see, I think Yoruba say when you are on the road, you are pursuing money or something, and you meet honor on the road.
Yes, no. So you better take the honor.
You better take the honor because money will come with the honor.
Yeah.
But you see, we are pursuing money at the detriment of honor and value. What is wrong with our society today? Look at it. We blame the young people for this. It's not true. What did they see? What examples? Who are the role models for young people today? Absent. The people they see are the hooligans that the media will promote, put them on pages and flash them up. Do they talk about people like Dr. Kolade?
Yeah.
Do they talk about the lady who found money at the airport and returned it? Or there was a boy I read lately in Uniben who did something and the dean had to recognize it. The guy couldn't pay his school fees. He found money. He returned it that would have paid the school fees. Do we talk about them? Does social media carry those kind of stories?
Yeah.
No. We carry the story of somebody who just, all these Yahoo boys.
Yes. Somebody who came into huge money.
All
of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then nobody, even parents. Don't. So when you look at the issue of drug, it's all those things. So if we're going to deal with it, we have to deal with it in a manner that parents understand what their roles are, and then the society also knows. You know, the problem with society is we're too quick to judge. We never give second chances to people. People that you read about, biographies and everything, if the world didn't give them second chances, look at Obama.
Yes.
If you read the story, you will know this is a classical story of somebody who would have missed it. Look at who he became.
Yeah.
We don't talk to her today about those things. I just read a book lately called Beautiful Things on drugs, written by Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
If any parent read that book, they should have a different paradigm shift as to how to deal with their children. In all the issues and all the years of addiction, Joe Biden and his wife Jill never derided this boy, never denounced him and threw him out of the house. They just said, we will stand with you. And he wrote it in the book, Those were some of the elements that kept him. So the society must begin to understand these vices grew out of our own situation. We all together must work together to help these people.
I know that there's a huge prevalence of drug use amongst the very young generation, especially university students. What's the relationship between CADAM and the universities? Both private and...
Most private. Usually, our relationship is stronger with private universities, and particularly the Christian universities.
Okay.
One started with us and saw the result, and the others learned from them. And we also now wrote in order to help the students, because many universities, out of ignorance, were expelling students. The final year. And we say to them, that is counterproductive, which is one of the things that General Marwa is now talking about. The first attempt in helping should not be punitive. We should not punish users because they are victims. So that is double jeopardy. So we wrote to the universities and said, look, we will be willing to help you. Come and visit us and see what we do. Let them come. When you catch them, we will help them with rehabilitation. We will certify them. They'll go back to school. Then if you watch them, many of them have graduated. So
from university?
Oh, from university.
That's
oh, yes,
I
know quite many are doctors and nurses and even pilots today.
Fantastic.
That graduated from us. So that gave them, and Nicola, why don't we try? This is not to say that every one of them they sent to us do that. 2, 3 still fail, and then they expel them because they have tried enough. But they have seen a measure of success.
So you're saying the first step is not...
It's not rustication. It's not punishment. Even if you're going to punish, let it be a lesser level. Let's say we suspend you for a semester. Go to so place or wherever you choose. Go and get rehabilitated. Bring a certification that you have stopped. We will take you back to school. We will, because what schools today check at random. Yeah. So if they are not caught, if you do well, and they'll be watching. Because what we say to them is when they come and finish with us, let a lecturer who has understanding be watching over them, report to the lecturer maybe once in 2 weeks. How are you doing? Look at it, but don't begin to check them out. Maybe this guy. No, that's not the way.
But then there's the other side of checking. When they check randomly and they find some of the chemicals in their bloodstream, like THC, for instance, which I found out can last about 30 days within the system. I mean, what does that mean? And there are other sources of getting THC?
You know, the interesting thing is, if these guys are smart.
Yes.
Catching out the university authorities. Some university authorities test, but they don't catch anyone, depending on what these boys use.
So don't say boys only.
No, girls. Girls.
Yes.
No, you'll be surprised that this is not limited to the men folk. Women do as much drugs as men. So I use boys because in a general sense.
Yes.
So the thing is, if you find it true, you find it. But it doesn't mean that the person is on a regular use.
Okay.
Because if you use cannabis, if you don't use it within the next 2 weeks, you can still test positive. And but some of the things we are telling universities, do these things with caution. Because there are some natural tablets prescribed in hospital that can make you have a false positive result.
Okay.
With this test. For instance, let me give you. If you take Aleve, Aleve is an analgesic.
Yes.
If you take it, if they test you, they'll find THC. There'll be a false positive for THC. And so just like other drugs, there are a few, we call them non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs.
Okay.
Some of them can give you a false positive for THC. So you can't then find THC and say, oh, surely this guy, you must interrogate the fact. First of all, test and find results. Don't say this is what we found. Do you do this? Do you do this? So that you do not put the university in a difficult position. Because if the university now suspends, and then somehow the student can prove that he doesn't use drugs, If they then do, then
subsequent tests,
then it becomes a problem for the university. Then nobody will trust your judgment.
So there's a need for caution.
There's a need for caution. And you see, one of the things we also told the university, who catches someone to take for test? You need to be careful. There must be, the security can catch, but they must hand over to someone with more authority and understanding who can then say, we'll do this. If you don't do that and it becomes the security who can just take, then they will make mistakes. And what we also told universities, all this noise about drugs, they don't grow in the universities. They got brought in. Some of the staff of the university are culpable. In the kitchen, in the laundry, the marijuana
dispatch person.
Yes, all those things are people who can bring this to this. There's one particular student I saw last week who said to me that within his school, I won't mention the university, it's a Christian university. He said in their school they use Colorado. So I asked him why. He said in the test kit of the university, Colorado does not show. It's not detected. So they use it on a grand scale. To get it within the campus from people who sell it as students starts from 2,000, 2,500 to 3,000. So he now has a friend who is in a public institution who brings it, who gets it from outside for about 500 naira. So he brings it to him. But that guy was coming one day to supply it. Both of them got caught. He was tested, it was negative, although he uses. The other person who brought was positive because he uses other things. So he was suspended or expelled. So we said to him, we will rehabilitate him and do a letter to your university that this is this, and then give you a second chance. But public institutions don't really care. You come, I mean, you can imagine that population in some of these public institutions, how would they be bothering themselves? But they have to bother because they are producing people for the outside market. The same way the workplace needs to begin to bother today in terms of the people they employ. Because if you are not careful, you will employ them into your system and they begin to grow within your system. And the drug they take does not have to be some, it can be an innocuous thing. If you see somebody in the office, for instance, who is taking a particular beverage, put it on his table, the same bottle or container for like 3 hours is not, it must be strange to you. Or somebody has a flask. You know, there's this singer who sang one time, water bottle.
Yes.
Those things are not just street water bottle. Nobody goes to a party carry water bottle.
Yes.
So you must know that there's something in it. So I'm talking about this because we must begin to be observant of the current practices in our environment to help us take decisions.
But this whole situation looks so bleak. Is there a way out?
Oh, of course there is.
You are optimistic?
I'm optimistic. Look, let me tell you my basis for optimism, particularly now.
Yes.
And I must confess, I haven't met General Marwa and worked with him a bit. I have a feeling, I'm strongly optimistic that if he is allowed to take the time and strategy as he wants to do, with the available resources, and then with his motivating his work staff, we will get results. It will be, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. What do I mean by that? It won't happen by magic. It will happen because we join up to work with him, and it's every facet. You said something the other time in questioning me. Even within the law enforcement agencies, there are greater users of drugs than the average society. I've been to joints where I saw them in uniform, take off their cap and they're shacking up. And that's why we have those accidents at the checkpoints and all those things. The custom must be involved in the interdiction. You know when people import, was it end of last year, somebody imported some containers of tramadol. If they were not caught at the port, they would have gone. When they said the number of tablets counted, if they were distributed across every Nigerian, each of us will have 2 to 3 tablets. You can then know the magnitude. But I can show you, if that thing had walked past them, within 2 weeks they'll be importing another set.
Another one, yeah.
So each component of society, you know, I mentioned parents, I mentioned schools, I mentioned the workplace, then the church
And the mosque too.
And the mosque, the religious body. You know why I'm particular about religious bodies? They see a lot more people than any component of our society.
Yes.
So if the pastors know about drugs, they talk about, not in a judgmental sense, oh, if you take drugs, you go to hell. You are making the boys continue to take. Something has to take me to somewhere.
Yes.
Don't use that. We must use love and empathy and drive it home. And when they come to talk to us, it must be confidentially maintained. They might even say, don't tell my parents. Then don't call their parents, because their parents give you shoes when they travel. You call them money. Then you destroy. And the others will never tell you stuff. It cuts across. The confidentiality must cut across every facet of the society. The church, the workplace, the schools, and everything.
Now, to ask you a final question, how is CADAM funded?
I thank you for asking me. It is one of the most difficult aspects of our operation. And I must say this, if not for Mommy Gio, we would be struggling like anything. She visited us and saw our center in the rudimentary stage when we were. She said, and this is a rehab center. No wonder when I tell people to come, they don't want to come. They say Bujero, and that is like
a sheep pen.
Yes, so like, I said, Mommy, but what will we do? We've talked to everyone that we can talk to, no help. She then left, then called me. That was how she began to release money to us until we built a good center.
Yeah.
She then spoke to...
I should come there. I haven't been there in a while.
Oh, you should come.
Yeah.
And one of the things I even want to do, interest big Nigerians. Let them come and visit. Yeah. Then they can take a decision how they can help us. Yeah. Not necessarily if they want to give money. They can build certain centers. Yeah. They can give us equipment. They can give us vehicles. The things that we need. They don't have to give us money, so they don't say some people want to chop their money. But it's a place for people to visit. Even when people want to have ceremonies like a poker birthday, they can say every form from it I give to this center or come and help us. But finance is a major issue. The church gives us money, which today is like what we use to pay salaries to buy food, because the program is free.
Yes.
The program in Ekpe is free. We don't charge a dime for it, and they spend a year. We house them, we clothe them, we treat them, we do all those, so we feed them. So we need help. If we get help, we'll be on top of it, we will do much more.
So, call for help.
Call for help.
Talk to the people.
I wish today, if anybody watches this, you go to our website, www.cadamonline.org. No, sorry, www.cadam.org.ng. That's our website. Yeah. And then our phone number is 0817-103, I think 9895. Our phone number. Our office is in Ikeja, Agidingbe, 5 Yusuf Close, off Sadiku Street, off Amaro, behind Zenith Bank. Come and visit with us. If you come, you talk to us, we'll take you to visit. You will see these people in flesh. You see the faces of addiction. And then you can see there is hope. That's why I'm happy. And I'm pleased to say to you that it's not all bleak. It looks bleak today, but there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you.
Papa. Thank you so much. My guest today on Timeless Conversations has been Dr. Dokun Adedeji, an altruistic person, totally selfless. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll follow up on what CADAM is doing. We'll come there.
We'll be glad.
We'll come there. We'll come there. Maybe we can do a special one.
I think you should.
Site.
I think you should, and maybe also get somebody like General Mara to talk to us.
Yeah, we'll reach out to him. We'll reach out to him. Thank you very much for watching. See you some other time. Bye.
increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
Very good evening. I am Manuel Olubobokun. This is News Update. The Nigerian Army is taking responsibility for Sunday's airstrike that left many villagers killed and several others injured at the Tudunbiri village in Kaduna State. This development was confirmed by Samuel Arwen, the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, at the end of an emergency security meeting on Monday. The Kaduna State government convened an emergency security meeting chaired by Deputy Governor Dr. Hadiza Balarabe to discuss the incident. The incident was unintended and unfortunate as the Nigerian Army troops were on a routine mission against terrorists in the area. Search and rescue operations are still ongoing, and those injured have been rushed to Barao Diko Teaching Hospital for treatment.
Which was presided by Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, Dr. Hadiza Sabwa Balarabe, which had in attendance heads of security agencies, religious and traditional leaders. The Nigerian Army explained the circumstances which led to the unfortunate and unintended attack. The GOC 1 Division, Nigerian Army, Major General V.U. Okoro, explained that the Nigerian Army was on a routine mission against terrorists, but unfortunately, some members of the Tudunbiri community were affected. Search and rescue efforts are still ongoing, as dozens of have been evacuated to Barao Diko Teaching Hospital by the government.
We've been briefed by the government exactly what happened. And it's purely incidental.
and it was not a deliberate issue, and it's been explained. So we heard what the government said, and the government has apologized on behalf of the security personnel that carried out the exercise.
In the meeting, which was presided,
a diesel tanker caught fire at the Ojota Inward Interchange in Lagos State, Nigeria. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority last May confirmed the incident and deploying personnel to the scene. The cause and casualty level are still unknown, as the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed the incident, stating that the flames had been extinguished. The Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed the situation in Ojota as the peddler truck conveying the diesel tanker had been extinguished. Marcel Julius Berger, the contractor of the second Niger Bridge, has handed over the multi-billion-hour project to the federal government. Minister of Works Dave Mai has expressed satisfaction with the project and noted that the bridge is open to concession to any private company for ancillary road completion, toll collection, and also investment recovery. Now, Mai also hinted at working on the modalities to also ease traffic at the old and new bridges during the festive period.
We have the light issue, and we've put it together on how to permanently have light, especially at night. And what we have agreed is to deploy solar solution to that in the coming weeks, so that every night we don't have to run diesel, we have to run on solar. This project was supervised jointly by the NSIA and the Ministry of Works, and is under PIDF funding mechanism by the federal government. And the structures we are seeing are the structures for the tolling plaza. The route is going to be completed when we have completed the two interchanges. One is taking us off from the Asaba town, so that if you are coming to this bridge, you don't have to go through the Asaba town and encounter a lot of hold up. The other one, and this to be done by JB. The other one is to be done by RCC, which takes us up from here, avoid Onitsha town, and then gets us to Bosi. And that is when this entire job we say to be completed. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very committed to completing this project so that tolling can start. However, if we get an investor who is prepared to fund the two interchanges, why not? We hand over the project for construction under our HDMI program to such an investor.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is facing a Supreme Court case over allegations of unlawfully assuming the presidency. The legal battle involves Chief Albert Ambrose Owuru, who claims Tinubu's declaration undermines the rule of law and should not have presented himself for inauguration while being a party in the ongoing Supreme Court suit. Now, Owuru, who contested the 2019 election on the Hope Democratic Party platform, has previously sought a court order declaring him the constitutional winner of the election. Tinubu has voluntarily joined the suit as an interested party, as Owuru and the Hope Africa Foundation are also requesting an order to restrain Tinubu from operating the Federation account pending the resolution of constitutional questions. Moving on, Justice Obiora Agwatu has directed INEC to expunge underage voter names from its national voter register and provide a certified copy of the cleaned-up register to the plaintiff within 90 days. The plaintiff, Mr. Agwin, argues that the lack of credibility in electoral processes has been a significant issue since Nigeria's return to democratic governance in 1999. INEC maintains an update at the National Voters Register under the Electoral Act, as the judge also ordered INEC to provide a clean-up register to the plaintiff within 1 month. The federal government has resumed the trial of suspected Boko Haram insurgents at the Kenji prosecution project phase 4, following a successful phase in first phase in 2017. Now, the government secured 366 convictions, but 896 suspects were discharged due to insufficient evidence. Resumption of trials follows announcement by the government in January to proceed with the second phase initially scheduled for March. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SCN, opened the proceedings. Now, students at the University of Calabar, UNICAL, have protested against a 100% increase in undergraduate tuition fees. Now, the university announced the increase at an emergency Senate meeting, citing economic realities. Now, the fee increase for non-science courses will increase for freshers, returning students, and final year students, with additional third-party dues. The university's fees for science courses will be increased to 155,000, 125,000, and 148,000 naira for freshers, returning students, and final year students. Student education, a pandemic has erupted at the Yelwa campus of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, following police tear gas on students who protested against the murder of their schoolmate, Joseph Agabaidu. Now, the incident occurred after Agabaidu was stabbed to death by assailants trying to steal his mobile phone. The students protested peacefully but were stopped by security and also were forced to leave the campus. The tear gas aggravated the situation, leaving lecturers and students stranded, as academic activities were also paralyzed at both Yelwa and Osogbo campuses. Now, despite management's effort, the students refused to open the gate for movement. Now, move on to other parts of Africa. Guinea-Bissau's President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has declared the parliament dissolved following an attempt at the coup. The violence occurred between National Guard members and Presidential Guard Special Forces, resulting in 2 deaths. Now, Embalo, who was in Dubai attending the COP28 climate conference, announced the coup d'etat and also the possibility of a normal functioning of the republic's institutions. They stated that legislative elections will be held at the appropriate time in line with the constitution, as Guinea-Bissau has experienced several coups since gaining independence in 1974. Embalo was elected in December 2019 and survived a coup attempt in February 2022. And straight out South Africa, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial resumed on Monday despite the ongoing war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu is accused of fraud and a breach of trust over his relationship with Hollywood producer Anand Milchan. As prosecutors claim, Netanyahu received gifts worth 700,000 shekels, which is approximately $195,000 between 2007 and 2016 in exchange for financial or personal favors. Netanyahu denies any wrongdoing and is suspected of promoting a tax project in return. And straight to business, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Aneke Lokwebiri, has said the country is on track to surpass the oil production quota set by OPEC at the 36th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting. The global oil cartel suggested Nigeria could achieve 1.5 million barrels of crude oil per day in 2024. However, trade consultancy firms IHS, Rystad Energy, and Wood Mackenzie have also said Nigeria will not meet the target, though Nigeria currently produces 1.5 million barrels of crude daily. Straight to entertainment. Oluwatosin Oluwole Ajibade, also known as Mr. Easy, faced a backlash over claiming Ghana's music influenced Nigerian music. I tweeted that Ghanaian music had a significant influence on Nigerian music, leading to threats from fans and colleagues. Now, despite the backlash, Mr. Easy said he didn't regret his statement, but lamented that some industry friends joined others in cancelling him instead of addressing him privately. Now, in sport, Indonesia is interested in partnering with Singapore to host the 2025 Under-20 World Cup despite being stripped of hosting rights. The decision comes after a stampede at a domestic match in Indonesia, which resulted in 135 deaths and a 6-month suspension for football. Indonesia's football popularity has been a significant factor in the country's international success since qualifying for the 1938 World Cup. And that's the news. So updates from our stories. Please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Applausive Africa, Applausive Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us on LimeMix at LimeMix.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Emmanuel Olubobokun. Many thanks for watching.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
It's been an unusual year for us all. We've been forced to learn to adapt to the changes that COVID-19 has brought upon us. However the cards may have been dealt to us this year, we have remained resilient. The Afrima Fashion Show stems from the Afrima Award Show, which is the biggest African award show in the diaspora. Every year, we have showcased designers and we bring together people from all over the world. This year, the Afrima Runway is graced by the top 3 African designers who have welcomed the challenge of doing a virtual runway show without any physical audience. Don Murphy, Ese Ezanabo, and lastly, Sai Sanko. Let the show begin.
Hi guys, my name is Sai Sankar and I am a luxury resort wear designer and I make the most amazing and fabulous kaftans and everything that you desire for traveling. I just really love the way women carried themselves back then, you know, the Marilyn Monroes, you know. It was sexy, but there was still glamour to it, you know, and elegance and sophistication. And I feel that's what my designs are about, you know. I've also been inspired just by my continent, the continent of Africa. Growing up in Sierra Leone, it's just this beautiful, bustling colors, you know, it's so vibrant, the marketplaces, you know, Christmas, it's just, everything about it is just so energetic and it's so powerful and colorful and it just makes me really happy. And so no matter what collection I do, it always goes back to that. And so that's why you see all this colorful prints and all these bold colors, you know. I feel women wearing it, it just makes them so extremely happy, you know, and they look absolutely gorgeous in it too.
My name is S.A. Grambowski, and I am the designer and owner for S.A. Azinabor Atelier. My source of inspiration for my designs, number one, to be honest, comes from God, because I go to sleep literally and dream about my designs. And that only has to be from God. So I always give credit to Him for that. And of course, my culture is very influenced in my design. I've been designing since I was 8 years old. Even before that, my mom would tell me wild stories of me taking her fabrics and cutting them into pieces and making a dress or a skirt or pants out of her expensive African materials that she had in our home back in Nigeria when I was growing up. And I draw a lot of inspirations from where I've been, and I just try to tie them into modern design mixed with vintage designs, mixed with traditional looks, and just tie it all together in a bowl to create a true S.A. Azinabor couture piece.
Hello, my name is Daniel Mofo. I'm the founder and designer of Don Morphy, a men's luxury custom suit clothing in Dallas, Texas. Fashion is color. In the past, men were all very scared of, the colors. They were used to the blacks, the grays. But now, if you look at fashion, men wear almost bolder colors than women, You see men in red suits, men in yellow suits, men in pink suits. So for me, fashion is color.
is expressive. So when I just wake up and have an idea and I create something out of that idea, it's God showing off. So that's what it is for me.
I've always been a little bit shy, but when it comes to fashion, I will wear anything and I will wear it with confidence. And so for me, that is a way of expressing myself, you know? And I feel it also is the same thing for a lot of women.
African for me means community. It means living together. If you look at Africans, they're all talking about the different countries in Africa. You know, it's all about our community. So for me, Africa means community. It means living together.
A 20-meter cliff, a couple of ropes, freezing cold water, and me trying to cope with all of that. I did make it down in the end, but this outing with a couple of guys really had me testing my limits. And that's precisely our topic this week on Made, leaving the comfort zone. I'm Chris Kober, welcome. We don't want to be bogged down with details, do we? It is the result that counts. Well, sometimes it's the details that unveil an inconvenient truth. Take meat production. We know that for us to be able to slap that steak on our grill, an animal needs to die. Often enough in anything but a gentle or respectful way. Our reporter Kai Steinecke, an avid meat lover, decided he wants to leave his comfort zone and does want to know how the sausage gets made, literally. A word of warning, the report contains scenes some viewers may find disturbing.
Hello. I am going to slaughter one of these animals. They belong to Wendelin Schmucke. He farms sheep the traditional way. His family has been doing this since 1750. His sheep are out to pasture for most of the year. But it's hard to find enough grazing land.
The sheep need about a hectare a day, that is.
A hectare every day?
Yes, a hectare for 700 sheep.
So this whole field is only enough for today. When they've had their fill, the flock will go home to the farm.
I hope the ones that I'm gonna slaughter are going to be bigger.
Oh yes, this one is bigger. It's 6 months old and weighs about 40 kilos.
That's huge.
I had no idea how quickly they grow.
I really don't know if I can do this.
I'm grappling with the fact that we kill animals so we can eat meat, and that I'm going to kill this lamb. First, we have to take it to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, you really can feel the 40 kilograms.
It's a 10-minute drive, nothing in comparison to the lengthy journeys to the slaughterhouse that livestock often face. Marco Kerr will be by my side throughout the process. He's been a butcher for more than 10 years, and he only slaughters what people bring him for their own consumption, like this lamb that I've bought. What was it like for you the first time?
You don't forget the first time. I had to leave the room. It was all a bit much. Not because of the blood, but the fact that an animal is dying. You don't really grasp that until you see it. And when it's done, you can't undo it. But we'll manage.
Wir schaffen das schon. Wir schaffen das.
Oh God.
Marco shows me how to use a bolt gun. It destroys the sheep's brain, and it won't feel anything afterwards.
Hold it loosely and then press once.
Einfach trauen.
That was it.
Oh!
Yeah.
That's like a real gun.
Yeah.
And now the lamb's head is in the firing line.
All is good, all is good. Oh my God.
Höchster Punkt.
Highest point, draw a line. There.
Finger weg.
Take your fingers away.
Nur den Finger weg.
Ja.
So.
On the head and pull the trigger.
Ja.
Knife, slice it through, all the way.
Durchstechen, richtig. Durch.
And again.
Muss mal an.
Oh God, Jesus. That's a lot of blood. That's a lot of blood.
Das war's.
That was it. It's over.
Hat er's geschafft.
So, how was it?
It's all happening so fast. I think I'll need time to process that. I've killed an animal.
Super geschossen, wirklich.
Great shot, really.
But that was just the first step. We're still a long way from having any chops or sausages. First, cut off the head, then the legs and the pelt. That's easier than I'd expected.
Das bedeutet dann aber auch
This
so,
isn't mass
es ist ja keine
production.
Masse so, ne? Also dann kann ja nicht jeder
Not
immer
everybody
dann
can
halt
get
so
a
einen
lamb like
Lamm
this.
haben, mehr oder weniger.
Das ist so. Das ist so.
That's
Aber
true.
das macht's auch wieder besonders.
But that's
Und
what
das
makes
ist
it
auch wieder das,
special.
da haben wir die
And it's what makes it
Nachhaltigkeitsaspekt
sustainable.
einfach mit drin. Die Leute
People approach the whole thing in a different
denken
way,
einfach anders über das
especially with an
Fleisch,
animal like
wenn
this.
sie's essen, gerade bei so einem Tier. Genau.
We still need to get rid of the guts.
Genau. Einmal über Nacht in die Kühlung, wenn's abtropfen.
Now it's left to hang overnight. That makes it easier to process.
I think what happened back in that slaughterhouse will forever be burned into my mind. The noises, the sounds, the smells, but it's the only way that sustainably eating meat is actually possible, because doing this in the masses of meat we eat today is absolutely impossible. But still, for me, I don't really know if I'm ever gonna walk into a supermarket again and be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat that meat.
The next morning, it's time to harvest the meat we've worked so hard for. Taking the carcass apart isn't any easier, it turns out.
And there goes the shoulder.
Yes!
About 20 kilograms of the lamb are lost in the process. mainly the pelt and the guts. That looks great.
Da haben wir es. Dann Bratwurst als erstes.
How about a sausage for starters?
Dann
I'm not going to lie, this tastes really, really good. And I don't feel guilty about it because the lamb had a good life and a good death. And I'm not turning vegetarian, but it's only for special occasions, really. When you slaughter animals like we used to do 100 or 150 years ago, and like we just did, you also need to eat meat like we used to 100 or 150 years ago. That means only a steak a week, and that's it.
Oh my, what a day for a reporter. Leaving your comfort zone doesn't always happen voluntarily. People losing their jobs because businesses are suffering under pandemic restrictions. Now, that's a real problem. But maybe this crisis can also offer opportunities. Entrepreneur Ernest Darko might have some advice for you, even if you're not into large-scale health systems development like he is.
The COVID pandemic has really turned the world upside down. So here are the 5 tips to boost your career in the context of a pandemic. It's really important to focus on things that you're passionate about. Even if in the overall sense of your career, it's hard to find, the thing to be passionate about. I grew up in a situation where healthcare was always poor, clinics were always overcrowded. Halfway through my medical career, I realized that if I really want to make a difference in these types of environments, I needed to be a doctor of systems, not just of people. Many years later, here I am basically running a company that is focused on helping countries fix their systems at large scale. If it's not easy to get out of bed to go to that job or to go do that particular thing I've chosen to do, then I know I'm probably doing the wrong thing. If in particular you're in a career that's very much dependent, for example, on seeing people, and we know that going into lockdown and isolation is the norm, it's definitely going to impact your career or your profession negatively. So do that assessment really quickly to understand whether it's going to diminish or create opportunities for you. If there is an opportunity, try and figure out how am I going to work myself into that opportunity. So if I can now innovate in order to now meet this new demand, yes, I cannot see people in person, but there's this huge demand now. How can I innovate basically to meet this new opportunity? So we developed a screening app, for example, that community workers who are going to do the door-to-door COVID screening could use to capture the screening and the result of the screening in real time. Look at tech enabling yourself, using technology to allow you to innovate, using technology to allow you to meet the new opportunities that are presented by COVID, as opposed to purely being a victim to what COVID has done. So technology can be a game changer in many cases. It allows you to scale yourself up. It allows you to be accessible by your clients in ways that probably might actually be better than pre-COVID. As we've seen with COVID, things keep changing, right? Everything from having first wave to second wave to learning new things about the disease that then changes the policy environment, that then changes the rules. You'll know you're adapting in the right way if you're maintaining your clients, if you're maintaining quality and you're maintaining satisfaction with what you're doing. I know it may sound like a bit of a luxury to be in a position in the context of all of the challenges that COVID-19 has brought.
Readjusting your career can be difficult, no doubt, particularly if your plan was to have one of the coolest jobs ever, flying a plane. But we know the pandemic has been an utter nightmare for the travel business. The global airline body IATA says air traffic this year is expected to be 66% lower than last. So it's been a huge mess for the sector up to this point, and even with bookings slowly recovering, German flagship carrier Lufthansa has suggested that would-be pilots in its prestigious Flight Academy might have to rethink their plans.
Flying free as a bird over majestic landscapes. It's an appealing prospect for many. The videos about Lufthansa's pilot training program in the United States are a favorite with Lukas Heim. The 22-year-old moved to Bremen a year ago with his girlfriend to start his training at the European Flight Academy, the Lufthansa Group's training school in Germany. Now they're packing up and leaving Bremen. In March, the course was suspended. 700 would-be pilots were left hanging. For Lukas, it's been a very trying time.
They just kept stalling and putting us off. First they said the course would start up again in May, then in September, then next January. Since it's also unclear, it's time for us to leave. We can't keep paying rent for this flat. We came to Bremen so that I could become a pilot and Svea could go to university. But our time here is now over.
After many months in a kind of suspended animation, would the training resume or wouldn't it, Lukas and Svea made the difficult decision to give up and go home.
We had a plan when we moved here. Lukas was going to complete his training. And now we're leaving again, and he hasn't completed it. It's like running in a marathon and turning back halfway and never reaching the finish line.
Lufthansa, Germany's biggest airline, was brought to its knees by the collapse in air travel caused by the pandemic. It was saved from bankruptcy by a €9 billion bailout. Half its fleet remains grounded. The head of Lufthansa Aviation Training, Stefan Kenan-Scheib, says the airline has 1,000 pilots more than it needs.
We tell our student pilots quite candidly that the prospects for becoming a pilot are very, very bad right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the financial situation of the Lufthansa Group. We're losing €500 million every month. It's our duty to be open to the students and tell it like it is.
Most aviation industry analysts say the demand for pilots after the pandemic is hardly likely to soar. They don't see air travel picking up significantly until 2025. Most of the youngsters who have had to halt their training need a job to get by. Caroline Bösner was in the United States when she heard the course had been suspended. Now she's back living with her parents in Leipzig and working at an Amazon logistics center.
It wasn't easy, but I had to take a pragmatic approach. I knew I couldn't just sit around at home. I had to do something. And it wouldn't be a bad thing to make some money. You don't earn anything as a student pilot. On the contrary, it's more like burning money.
Many student pilots now find themselves in a precarious financial situation. They are by far not the only group of people in need of work, as the pandemic and ensuing lockdown measures shuttered entire industries.
People who worked in tourism or food service are coming to us. They say either they need a job as a stopgap measure or they want to change careers entirely.
Caroline Bösner says for her, working at Amazon is temporary. She's not given up her long-standing dream of becoming a pilot. She remains as committed as ever.
I absolutely still want to fly. I'm not going to give up on my dream. It's anchored within me and it's not going to go away. I flew all over Florida. It was fantastic. And then suddenly I was back in cold Germany. I can't imagine doing anything else. So I have to find a way to finish my training. if need be, without Lufthansa.
200 minimum.
The enthusiasm may be great, but facts on the ground are not encouraging. Lufthansa has recommended its students actually give up rather than wait for the course to restart. If they complete the programme, they're going to be charged 80,000 euros, and they won't have the guarantee of a job, as used to be the case. Lucas's father, Christopher Heim, is appalled. He's been a pilot at Lufthansa for 32 years.
This sounds to me rather like coercion. If I agree to terminate the training contract, everything will be fine. If I don't and want to fulfill my dream, then a huge sum of money comes due. I don't like that. I think it's dishonorable.
It's quiet and empty at the European Flight Academy in Bremen. This is the first time Lukas Heim has been inside since March. He too remains determined to become a pilot, despite the difficult conditions prevailing right now. Though he says he doesn't yet know how he's going to do that.
What I would like is for them to say, when we restart pilot training, we'll take you guys first, or that they at least certify our test results.
But Lufthansa has not made any such commitment. Nor does CEO Carsten Spohr have any words of encouragement for the students. He's already indicated that Lufthansa will have no more work for tens of thousands of its employees.
As with all professions and at all German universities, there are no guarantees of jobs in the future. And that is the case here too. Aviation remains a fascinating industry for young people too. But I think
I had to be evacuated. And I remember they were telling me to go to Nairobi. I said, no, I'm not going to Nairobi. I will go to Ganyel. I think I was unemployed for about 7 months, 8 months. And then I finally get a job with ICRC in June of last year. We are doing a medical evacuation today, leaving Ganyel to Nyal, which is north of here, about 25 minutes or 30 minutes flight. So unfortunately, some cattle raiders came and attacked a village and took cattle, about 110 cattle, head of cattle, according to the local source. They have killed 2 people and wounded 4. Now we are going to evacuate a woman and a 3-year-old girl from Nyal because there is no good medical facility in Nyal, so we are evacuating them to Ganyel for a better treatment, operations, and then we'll also bring a caretaker together with that child. It's not me alone that decided to come back home. We had a lot of us that came back home that are even working either with the government or with the NGOs, or that are doing their private work as well. Unfortunately, we were all hoping to come home and build a home together. But some of us, most of us that did came, went back to America. And I'm one of the few that decided to stay because I was thinking it's not the right time for me to leave, because when your people are in danger, why would you have to go back? I'm always hopeful and optimistic that things will be better because this is the country that we all loved. This is our land. And we lost boys that have seen it all. And we want to have a better future. We have our country have a better future. And this is the hope that we are always praying for, so that this country can be better for all of us.
From Adamawa State, northeastern Nigeria. I attended an introduction course in conservation biology, and I realized this was what my passion was. After I completed my master's in the UK, I knew I wanted to come back to my country. I knew I wanted to come and work for conservation in Nigeria and nowhere else. Before WCS took over managing the ranger activity, about 10 to 20 elephant carcasses were recorded, killed by poachers annually. Rangers were not properly trained, they were not armed, so one ranger with a firearm in a team and the others would have cutlasses and sticks. That made the hunters more confident. I experienced poaching, I think, my first day in Yankari.
It was almost fading, only the name was existing, but the actual reserve was just a shadow of itself. Poaching generally is a very big problem for us in Yankari.
I realized there was lots of grievances from the surrounding communities. Sometimes they would send huge complaints and huge threats that they would kill elephants because elephants have gone out to destroy their farms, destroy their crops.
A duk gaba ɗaya kore su, amma da kai dai mai gona je kore kayansa ko yana damuwa su da kuma lokacin ma mutane ba su da yawa, ba su yi gonakai da yawa a kusa dajin kamar yanzu ba.
We believe a couple of elephants were killed in the past because of the problems with crop raiding. Then I got the opportunity to do the CLP program with WCS Nigeria. It has a very good collection of very passionate people working for the same cause, and it's been a very great experience for me.
Before Nachar came, we didn't have any conservation outfit per se. But when he came, he put things in order, he put the rangers in proper perspective.
Working with Yankari Rangers has been really a great experience for me. It took me a while when I took over to understand them. So I got closer to them, spent more time with them, visited them in their homes, ate the same food with them, brought them so close that I was able to understand what are some of their needs, what are their problems. So when we took over, we were able to work with our partners, get them some firearms, some ammunition, uniforms, boots, kit bags.
My boss is a moral man. Enjoy staying with him and enjoy working with him.
Over time, the number of elephant carcasses went down, the number of patrols increased, and we can see poaching going down. I identified the 6 communities that were most affected by elephant crop raiding. I went around and had meetings with the chiefs and told them about the initiative, and I told them we have funding to have 2 people from their communities who would work with us as elephant guardians. So we trained those people on safe and effective ways to chase elephants away from the farm. Yankari has the last viable elephant population in Nigeria. The last elephant carcass we recorded in Yankari was in 2015 in May.
Yankari Game Reserve is an endowment given to us by God, and we are trying to protect it and preserve it. The glory is coming back, and this will be attributed seriously to Nachar's foresight and dedication.
I look at the rangers sometimes, the success stories we have, it's one of the driving force I have that keeps me going. I said, if in such a small time we've touched this number of lives and we've made these changes, then I cannot give up. It's something that is so dear to me. It's